Green Living High-Rises, Sustainability in the Concrete Jungle by Cincinius. The blaring symphony of honking horns, the towering steel behemoths painting shadows on the pavement, and the kaleidoscope of humanity's faces mark the essence of urban life. It was a marvel of human achievement, a testament to progress and modernity. But beneath the glint of glass skyscrapers, a growing recognition of an impending reality was setting in. Our cities, the heartbeats of civilization, have started to eat away at the very fabric of Earth's well-being. It was in this urban jungle, where every square inch was precious, that the concept of sustainable living began to sprout from the concrete. With over half the world's population calling cities their home, the strain on resources had reached a critical level. Air quality began fluctuating violently in the gray landscape. Potable water turned into a prized commodity, and the once abundant green spaces dwindled into rare urban oases. Urban dwellers faced a paradox of proximity, everything within reach, yet nothing without consequence. Apartments stacked on one another in the sky became the norm. Community gardens, a green reprieve, grew on rooftops, refusing to surrender to the crowding below. And as urban populations continued to swell, the imperative for sustainable living became a clarion call. By adopting greener practices, cities could transform into vibrant ecosystems supporting both human and environmental health. However, the challenges were manifold. Space was restricted, and the immediacy of everyday life often left little room for environmental considerations. With city infrastructures primarily designed during times of abundant resource availability and cheaper energy costs, retrofitting them for sustainability posed a Herculean task. Waste management systems overflowed, public transportation struggled under increasing demand, and energy consumption soared as the cityscape flickered incessantly with the glow of urban life. Beyond these pressing concerns, the environmental footprint of such incessant activity amounts to a significant burden on the planet. The proliferation of vehicles clogs the air with pollutants, while high-density living and the ceaseless operation of businesses contribute to a relentless consumption of energy. In cities where convenience is king, single-use plastics and disposable commodities become the norm, exacerbating the already dire state of waste management. Urban dwellers, confronted with these realities, may feel a sense of helplessness, questioning the capacity of individual actions to reverse the tide of environmental degradation. Yet, there is hope on the concrete horizon. Residents are beginning to recognize that small, personal changes, when adopted on a wide scale, can trigger a cascade of benefits. Sustainable living in the urban context means reevaluating daily choices: where to shop, what to buy, how to dispose of waste, and how to commute. City planners and environmental enthusiasts have started to champion the integration of nature into urban design, creating parks and green roofs that add a much-needed touch of green to the grayscale city palette. These green spaces are not just aesthetically pleasing, they offer a refuge for biodiversity, help regulate city temperatures, and improve air quality. Meanwhile, urban agriculture initiatives are taking root, transforming rooftops and balconies into verdant vegetable gardens. Such practices not only reduce the carbon footprint associated with transporting food from farm to plate, but also instill a sense of connection to the earth among urbanites who may otherwise feel detached from natural processes. Innovative water conservation measures, such as rainwater harvesting and gray water recycling systems, are becoming more prevalent. As urban citizens become increasingly aware of water's precious nature, they adopt technologies and habits that ease the pressure on municipal water supplies. From low-flow faucets to drought-resistant landscaping, the path to sustainable water usage is being paved with creativity and foresight. The narrative of sustainability extends to the energy that powers the city. The introduction of renewable energy sources, such as solar panels and wind turbines, into urban settings demonstrates a shift towards self-sufficiency. These technologies not only shrink the city's carbon footprint, but also offer a buffer against the volatility of energy markets. Likewise, the rise of energy-efficient appliances and LED lighting reflects a broader awareness of the need to use resources wisely. The transformation begins with awareness and is fueled by action. As urbanites become curators of their environment, Striving for sustainability becomes less of a challenge and more of an ongoing commitment. From the food they eat to the transportation they choose, every aspect of city living is scrutinized through the lens of sustainability. It requires reimagining the very essence of urban life, making it a place where efficiency and conservation go hand in hand with development and convenience. Venturing further into the heart of sustainable transformations, the narrative now shifts to exemplary case studies. Cities such as Copenhagen, Denmark, have taken the lead, ambitiously aiming to become carbon neutral by 2025. The city's extensive bicycle infrastructure is more than a convenient mode of transportation. It's a statement of a culture that prioritizes health and environmental responsibility over the convenience of cars. Green roofs adorn the urban landscape, offering not only aesthetic pleasure but also practical benefits like insulation and biodiversity. Similarly, across the ocean, San Francisco in the United States has become a paragon of waste management. The city's Zero Waste Initiative, launched with the aim to eliminate landfill contribution by 2020, has meticulously categorized waste streams and created easy-to-follow recycling protocols for its residents. Educational programs and strict legislation play their roles in bringing the community together to fight against waste. The success of these cities is not singularly environmental, but deeply psychological and social. Urban dwellers who engage in sustainable practices often report a greater sense of community and connection to their environment. This psychological shift is intimately connected with sustainable living. When people feel a part of their community and responsible for their environment, they are more likely to adopt and maintain green behaviors. Furthermore, the economic incentives, such as savings on energy bills and waste disposal costs, increased property values from green renovations, and even job creations in the sustainability sector, contribute significantly to driving change. Sustainable living in urban environments is not a fleeting trend, but a vital model for the future. As the chapter edges towards its conclusion, it reinforces the need for ingenuity and community collaboration in ensuring that the growth of urban populations is matched by equally robust and committed efforts towards sustainability. The realization is clear. Sustainable urban living is not only possible and necessary, it has also become increasingly attainable, with each step toward sustainability paving the way for the next innovation. In the bustling heart of the city, where skyscrapers are like sky-touching sentinels and the streets thrum with the ceaseless heartbeat of human activity, a quiet revolution brews. It is here, amid the concrete and glass, that the urgency of sustainable living is most palpable, a clarion call that cannot be ignored amidst the cacophony of urban life. As our cities swell, with projections indicating that nearly 70% of the world's population will reside in urban areas by 2050, the implications of our footprint are starkly evident. From the noxious fumes belched out by a constant stream of vehicles to the mountains of waste generated by the consumer-oriented lifestyle, the environment is under siege. Yet, from this apparent chaos emerges a pattern of potential, a blueprint for balance that urban dwellers are increasingly eager to explore. The challenges are as varied as they are pressing. Limited space means that city inhabitants must be creative in their approach to gardening, composting, and energy conservation. High-density living necessitates the management of resources at a communal rather than an individual level. The environmental impact of dense populations must be mitigated by cutting-edge waste management, sustainable public transport systems, and green architecture that prioritizes energy efficiency and minimal ecological disruption. Enter the role of the individual amidst this complex web of urban sustainability. It is through the cumulative effect of single actions that broader change cascades. Every resident who chooses to cycle instead of drive, every balcony transformed into a verdant vegetable patch, every consumer who opts for locally sourced products, it is these decisions, though seemingly small in isolation, that weave a tapestry of transformation. In the concluding section of this opening chapter, attention turns to empowerment. Each urban dweller holds a key to this vast and intricate puzzle. The path forward is paved with the knowledge that individual contributions, when united, form a formidable force for change. The simple acts of reducing, reusing, Recycling and reimagining one's lifestyle choices become potent weapons in the arsenal against unsustainable practices. And it is with this mindset that urban dwellers are called to action, to take the first steps on a journey that not only lightens their ecological load, but also enhances the quality of life within their own urban ecosystems. As the chapter draws to a close, it emphasizes that joining the collective movement toward urban sustainability is not just an option, it's an imperative. Readers are left with a palpable sense of responsibility, coupled with inspiration and practical avenues to become protagonists in their city's stories of sustainable evolution. Indeed, the urgency for sustainable living within the concrete jungles we call home has never been more palpable. In a world where the urban pulse quickens, space becomes a luxury, and resources are ever more strained, the individual's role in shaping the future of our cities takes center stage. To grasp the situation fully, one must consider the density of human activity concentrated in urban areas. Cities consume over 2/3 of the world's energy and account for more than 70% of CO2 emissions. These staggering figures reflect a pattern of life that is, at its core, unsustainable. Yet, within this problem lies the opportunity for transformation. Urban centers, with their concentrated populations and infrastructure, are uniquely positioned to pivot towards sustainable practices on a massive scale. The story of urban sustainability is not a narrative of blame, but one of empowerment. It is a call to embrace innovative solutions and to forge new habits that align with the well-being of the planet. And nothing exemplifies this better than the day-to-day decisions made by the city dweller. From choosing public transport over personal vehicles to supporting local and sustainable businesses, every action has the potential to contribute to a larger tapestry of change. Furthermore, the rise of community gardens and urban farming initiatives speaks to a reconnection with the earth even amidst asphalt and skyscrapers. These green spaces not only provide local, fresh produce, but also serve as sanctuaries of biodiversity and social integration. They represent the reclaiming of urban spaces, transforming them into vibrant hubs of sustainability. As the first chapter of this journey concludes, it beckons readers to look around their own cities with a new lens, to see beyond the inertia of the way things have always been done, and to challenge the status quo for the sake of future generations. Each urbanite holds within their daily routines the power to promote sustainability and to act as custodians of the environment. With the groundwork laid, the stage is set for an exploration of the tangible measures cities and their inhabitants can adopt. It is not solely a matter of personal choice, but also one of policy and structural change. A symphony of efforts that play together in harmony for the Earth's benefit. The next chapter will delve deeper into this realm, providing clear and actionable pathways for the realization of urban sustainability. Life in the city pulses with a vibrant beat. Skyscrapers reach toward the heavens, streets hum with the symphony of movement, and yet, within the undercurrents of this bustling urban landscape lies a growing awareness, an awareness of the environmental cost of modern urban existence. As space becomes a premium and high-density living the norm, the question of sustainable living in such constrained environments cannot be overlooked. Within the confines of apartment blocks and shared spaces, a cultural shift is emerging. Individuals are adapting, employing innovative ways to reduce their carbon footprint, live more sustainably, and foster a sense of environmental stewardship. Meanwhile, city councils and urban planners grapple with the challenge of accommodating the ever-expanding urban population while minimizing ecological damage. One of the most pressing challenges urbanites encounter is waste management. The traditional take-make-waste model is at odds with sustainable practices. A promising answer to this issue is the zero-waste lifestyle, where individuals strive to reuse products, reduce consumption, and recycle materials, essentially closing the loop of product life cycles. It's an undertaking that demands commitment, but also cultivates a connection to the environment and community that is often missing in urban environments. Entrepreneurs are also stepping into the limelight, introducing sustainable goods and services tailored to urban living. From biodegradable packaging materials to apps that help track and reduce one's carbon footprint, There is an ever-growing toolkit for the environmentally conscious city dweller. Despite these individual efforts, the road to sustainability is not solely trodden by personal feats. It is a path that necessitates structural, systematic change. This recognition has given rise to discussions surrounding the smart city, a concept where technology and data are leveraged to make cities more efficient, livable, and crucially sustainable. Thus, as Chapter 1 draws to a close, it is clear that urban sustainability is not a distant ideal, but a transforming reality that starts at the grassroots and stretches to the very framework upon which our cities are built. The forthcoming chapter will pierce through the fabric of urban development schemes and infrastructural advances to shed light on how cities are not only accommodating growth, but are redefining the essence of growth itself, shifting it from a conventional quantitative expansion to a qualitative evolution, one that embraces the planet's boundaries and fosters urban environments where both humanity and nature can flourish. The vast stretches of concrete jungles, steel spires that pierce the sky, and human hustle paint the common cityscape. Yet, beneath this metropolitan veneer lies a tapestry of complexities that urban dwellers grapple with daily, environmental constraints that implore a pivot towards sustainability. In the concrete walkways and bustling markets, you'll find champions of change with eyes for green spaces and hearts anchored by eco-consciousness. These individuals understand that sustainable living is not merely a trend, but a necessity in stewarding Earth's bountiful yet finite resources. The urban setting, whilst rich in opportunity, is paradoxically impoverished in space and abundance of nature, a place where every inch and every drop counts, where waste is not just an inconvenience, but a palpable competitor for living space. This initial foray into our shared urban narrative began with unveilings of waste management and a no-waste lifestyle, but culminates in a vision for our future, a future architecturally sound in sustainable innovation, poised with smart solutions and infused with the intelligence of those who are daring enough to lead the charge. These leaders, these architects of change, are embedding sustainability into the infrastructure and culture of the city, crafting a blueprint for modern urbanity that will be further elaborated in the chapters that unfold. As Chapter 1 draws to a close, it leaves behind a trail of notions, a proposition that sustainability and urbanization are not adversaries, but potential allies in a fight against environmental degradation. Chapter 2 will continue this enlightening expedition, diving into the heart of sustainable urban development, explicating the synergy of smart cities, and unwrapping the role of technology in launching urban dwellers towards a sustainable horizon. As the narrative of sustainability weaves through the concrete jungle, Chapter 2 blossoms with a verdant vision in the most unexpected of places, the heart of urban expanses. In the age of asphalt and high-rises, a green revolution is quietly stirring, one balcony and rooftop at a time. It's here we encounter urban agriculture, a beacon of growth and self-sufficiency. Urban agriculture may seem a novel concept, yet its roots are deep and historical, tracing back to wartime victory gardens that maximized local food production. In contemporary cityscapes, the practice takes on a new urgency and form. Pioneers like Alice Waters have heralded this movement, starting with the Edible Schoolyard Project, inspiring a fresh perspective on where and how our food is grown. Waters' principles underscore the importance of fresh, local produce, which dovetails harmoniously with the larger narrative of urban sustainability. Community gardens are sprouting across metropolitan terrains, offering swatches of arable land where concrete once reigned. Rooftop farming transforms unused spaces into lush, productive green zones, while balcony gardening empowers individuals to cultivate their edibles, no matter the scale. The message is clear and potent. Regardless of your dwelling size or type, there is a way to contribute to the city's sustainability by producing a portion of your sustenance. The advantages resonate on multiple levels. Locally grown produce slashes food miles, reducing carbon emissions associated with transportation. Moreover, it promotes biodiversity and can alleviate the urban heat island effect through evapotranspiration. The educational value is equally palpable. Urban agriculture becomes a catalyst for community bonding and a classroom for lessons in sustainability. As we progress through the chapter, Readers will learn the basics of starting their urban garden, the selection of crops suitable for confined spaces, and innovative vertical farming techniques. The narrative of Chapter 2 serves as not just an instructional guide, but also an inspirational torch, highlighting the triumphs of those who turned their urban dwelling into a hub of sustainability. To begin with, potential urban gardeners should understand the importance of selecting the right location for their plants. Ideally, a spot that receives at least 6 hours of sunlight daily is necessary for most edible plants. For those living in high-rise buildings with limited direct sunlight, the use of reflective materials can help redirect sunlight to the plants. One of the most essential steps in starting an urban garden is soil preparation. Due to the prevalence of contaminants in urban soils, it is often recommended to use raised beds or containers with a high-quality potting mix. This allows for better control over the soil quality and can help avoid the problems associated with poor drainage and compacted soil, which are common in urban environments. Watering, another critical aspect of urban gardening, must be approached differently than in rural settings. Collecting rainwater or reusing gray water, where permissible, can be an excellent way to conserve resources. Drip irrigation systems or self-watering containers can also be employed to provide consistent moisture to plants with minimal waste. The story continues with the introduction of pioneers who have effectively implemented urban agriculture in various cities around the world. Their case studies offer a wealth of knowledge and encouragement. One such pioneer is Ron Finley, known as the Gangsta Gardener, who transformed a vacant lot in South Los Angeles into a flourishing community garden. His work demonstrates the potential for urban agriculture to provide not only fresh produce, but also a sense of community and purpose. Addressing the potential challenges, such as limited space, pest management, and pollution, is crucial for aspirant urban farmers. Creative solutions like trellises for vertical growth, natural pest deterrents such as companion planting, and the use of protective barriers like nets or row covers can all contribute to a successful and sustainable urban garden. Technological advances are also reshaping urban agriculture. Hydroponic and aquaponic systems that require no soil and use nutrient-rich water have been particularly revolutionary. These systems can be set up indoors or outdoors and allow for high-density growing with minimal environmental impact. Apps and smart devices are available to help monitor plant health, irrigation needs, and even provide reminders for garden maintenance tasks. In conclusion, the principles and methods introduced in this section serve not only to equip urban dwellers with useful gardening knowledge, but also to inspire them to start their urban agriculture journey. Beyond practical tips, the chapter imparts a vision of a greener, healthier urban life through the wisdom and achievements of its pioneers. The story of sustainable urban living cannot be told without mentioning figures like Alice Waters, a true pioneer who has long advocated for fresh, local food and the development of community gardens. But Alice's influence goes far beyond her renowned restaurant, Chez Panisse, touching lives in concrete jungles through her support of the Edible Schoolyard Project. This initiative bridges the gap between nature and the classroom, turning school gardens into places of learning and growth, both for the students and the vegetables they nurture. As readers digest the vibrancy of Waters' contribution, the narrative shifts to showcase innovative urban gardening projects around the globe. In Berlin, Prinzessinnengarten has become a beacon of community agriculture. Once a desolate space, it's now an urban oasis where locals gather to learn, grow, and share produce. This living example of green transformation operates under a unique mobile farming concept, with everything grown in portable containers, making urban agriculture adaptable and accessible. Traveling to Asia, one encounters the throbbing heart of Tokyo, where Pasona Urban Farm weaves greenery into the fabric of an office building. Employees tend to rice paddies, tomato vines, and leafy greens between meetings and emails, a testament to how workplaces can incorporate sustainability into their day-to-day environments. These real-world examples demonstrate not just the power of local produce and sustainability, but also the sense of community and educational opportunities that urban agriculture fosters. As such, Urban dwellers are encouraged to recognize the multifaceted benefits that extend beyond just providing fresh food into the realms of social cohesion, mental health benefits, and urban biodiversity. The narrative paves the way for discussion on the role of city policy in shaping a supportive environment for urban agriculture. The chapter concludes with a look at the impact of urban planning and legislation on the growth of urban agriculture. It highlights cities like Detroit and Singapore that have incorporated urban agriculture into their urban planning initiatives. These cities demonstrate how forward-thinking policies can facilitate the integration of green spaces into urban landscapes, supporting sustainability and resilience against food insecurity. In conclusion, the principles and methods introduced in this section serve not only to equip urban dwellers with useful gardening knowledge, but also to inspire them to start their urban agriculture journey. Beyond practical tips, the chapter imparts a vision of a greener, healthier urban life through the wisdom and achievements of its pioneers. The silhouettes of skyscrapers against the setting sun hold a new meaning in this era of urban agriculture, an emblem of sustainability as much as of innovation. In the spirit of pioneers like Alice Waters, the modern urban dweller now approaches their balcony, rooftop, or local community garden with a newfound enthusiasm. They plant seeds not just to grow produce, but also to cultivate a deeper connection with their environment and their communities. That connection begins with understanding how to make the most of limited space, natural resources, and urban constraints. For those on the starting line of their urban agriculture journey, selection of plants becomes paramount. Leafy greens, herbs, and small root vegetables are celebrated choices for newcomers due to their adaptability and short growth cycles. These crops can thrive in the small pots or raised beds that define urban garden spaces. Tomatoes, peppers, and strawberries also offer bountiful harvests and the added joy of vibrant color against city backdrops. However, even the most ideal plant varieties demand care and vigilance. Pests and diseases are as much a part of the city as they are of the countryside. An eco-friendly approach to pest management hinges on selecting the right companion plants that can repel insects naturally, introducing beneficial predators like ladybugs, and using organic pesticides only when absolutely necessary. The chapter continues with a guide for tackling these challenges, including a list of community resources often available to urban gardeners. Local gardening clubs, municipal compost programs, and conservation workshops often provide valuable knowledge and support. This section aims to remind readers that, while the garden may be on their balcony, they are a part of a larger network of city growers. To plant the seed of long-term vision, the narrative dives into the potential of urban agriculture to redefine our cities. Roof gardens can double as green insulation, reducing a building's energy costs, while community gardens are capable of transforming unused plots of land into fertile beds for biodiversity and neighborhood engagement. This phase is not just about sowing seeds, but about entwining nature within the very fabric of urban living for future generations. As the evening gives way to night, a constellation of garden lights dotted across the city flickers to life. Each point is a beacon of change and resilience. Individual tales of cultivation come together to weave the greater narrative of sustainable urban living. As people increasingly fill the urban sprawl, the question of food sustainability becomes ever more pressing. Apartment dwellers might have once thought it impossible to grow anything in their cramped settings, but necessity has bred invention, and the sky, or perhaps the ceiling, is now the limit for urban agriculture. After all, if one can't expand outwards, the only way is up. Vertical gardening, an innovative method of growing plants in a limited space, has become the modern urbanite's answer to a lack of ground area. Take, for instance, Jasmine Patel, who turned the balcony of her two-bedroom flat into a thriving vegetable oasis. Tired of the bland taste of store-bought vegetables and worried about her carbon footprint, she began researching vertical gardening techniques. Jasmine shares, it's about creativity, hanging baskets, wall planters, even repurposed shoe organizers. Every inch of vertical space can be a productive area for greens and herbs. Her balcony is a testament to this philosophy, with tomatoes climbing upwards entwined around her trellises, while lettuce fills in the understories and peppers bask in hanging pots, swaying gently in the breeze. Hydroponics, too, offers a glimpse into the future of urban agriculture. This method utilizes nutrient-rich water instead of soil, allowing plants to grow faster and healthier while using less space and water. Mark Nguyen, a software engineer with a penchant for sustainable living, transformed his rooftop into a hydroponic farm. The automated system circulates water through pipes, delivering nutrients directly to the roots of his plants. It's a closed-loop system, Mark explains. I use 90% less water than traditional gardening, and the yields are incredible. His harvest feeds not only his family but also his neighbors, fostering both community spirit and food security within his urban jungle. But it's not just about the food. There's an undeniable therapeutic aspect to tending to a garden, no matter how small. The presence of lush greenery against the concrete backdrop of the city has a calming effect, which is vital in the high-strung environment of urban areas. Gardening offers an escape, a connection to the earth that many miss in their day-to-day urban routine. Ellen Rossi, a school teacher residing in the bustling city center, finds solace in her container garden. When I'm out here, it's as if the noise of the city fades away. It's just me, my plants, and the bees. There's a rhythmic peace in pruning and watering, she says, snipping away at an overenthusiastic mint plant. For Ellen and countless others, urban gardening has become a sanctuary, providing fresh food, yes, but also nurturing mental well-being. As this chapter nears its close, the essentiality of urban gardening in the quest for sustainable living is clear. It offers benefits that extend beyond the practical realms of food production into the improvement of quality of life, community connectedness, and the sanctity of nature's role in city life. This evening, as the garden lights twinkle against the night sky, their glow represents hope, a testament to the tenacity and ingenuity of those urban dwellers who have embraced sustainability not just as a concept, but as a way of life. In the concrete jungle, pioneers of urban agriculture, like the renowned Alice Waters, have led the charge in transforming the way city dwellers relate to their food. Waters, a prominent figure in the organic food movement, has long advocated for the ethical and sustainable production of food within communities. Her work has inspired a generation to take up tools and seeds, turning idle spaces into verdant patches ripe with produce. Her philosophy intertwines the principles of good nutrition, stewardship of the land, and the importance of community engagement through initiatives like the Edible Schoolyard Project. These urban farmers embody resilience and creativity, often working with limited space and resources. Balcony gardens brim with heirloom tomatoes and bell peppers, while rooftop beehives buzz with activity, each endeavor contributing to a greener skyline. Urbanites, once distant from the sources of their meals, now find joy in the pop of a pea freshly plucked from a vine right outside their window. Community gardens, sprouting in shared plots in neighborhoods, become centers for knowledge exchange, cultural interaction, and intergenerational connection. These green spaces promote biodiversity and teach valuable lessons about food security and self-sufficiency. More importantly, they serve as a catalyst for community development, as neighbors who may have once been strangers now work side by side, their hands deep in the earth. As the final words of this chapter take form, it is evident that the tapestry of urban agriculture weaves a vibrant story of resilience and hope. The collective effort of individuals, each with their own small plot of green, comes together to form a quilt of sustainability that spreads across the urban expanse. It is this collective momentum, born of individual acts of cultivation and care, that is making significant strides toward a sustainable urban future. For those inspired to dig into this world, a treasure trove of resources awaits. From local gardening workshops and online forums to city-sponsored programs, the community of urban gardeners grows ever stronger, knit together by a shared vision of a sustainable cityscape. The next chapter in this green revolution is yours to write. The narrative pivots to the heartening tale of Jasmine Tran, a systems analyst who transformed her modest apartment balcony into a verdant oasis. Despite the cramped space, Jasmine's balcony is a testament to the adage, where there's a will, there's a way. Herbs fill every container, tomatoes and beans wind upwards on trellises against the city skyline, and salad leaves peek out from hanging baskets. It's about understanding your environment and working with it, not against it, Jasmine shares. My small balcony is now a source of sustenance and serenity for me. Her balcony garden not only reduces her carbon footprint by decreasing her need for commercially farmed produce, but it also injects a burst of nature into the harsh lines of the urban setting. These personal stories are accompanied by practical advice. The text outlines how to select the right plants for your urban space, taking into account sunlight, airflow, and the seasons. It also delves into the world of composting, showing how organic waste can be recycled into nutrient-rich soil for urban crops. A special feature highlights vertical gardening, a technique that utilizes upward space effectively, ideal for the constricted spaces in the city. As the chapter nears its close, it shines a light on the way these individual efforts, like Jasmine's, converge to make a collective impact. Through the mutual sharing of knowledge and resources, urban dwellers are laying down the roots for a more sustainable lifestyle within their concrete jungles. It's a movement that's recognized not just by those who participate in it, but increasingly by urban planners and policymakers who see its value for the health of the city and its inhabitants. The chapter closes with an invigorating call to action, beckoning readers to join this burgeoning movement and to envision their role within it. The next chapter in this green revolution is yours to write, the text asserts, prompting readers to look forward to Chapter 3, which will explore sustainable urban transport as another vital piece of the sustainable urban living puzzle. Jasmine Tran, with her hands deep in the soil of her balcony garden, is a portrait of the urban agriculturist in action. The sounds of the city become a distant hum as she tends to her vegetables and herbs, each plant a testament to her dedication and the potential of urban green spaces. Jasmine's small balcony is emblematic of the larger potential held in unused rooftops, vacant lots, and spare rooms throughout the city. Around her, in the fabric of the urban environment, a network of food growers is emerging, a community connected by a shared commitment to sustainable living. As the chapter nears its close, the voices of celebrated pioneers like Alice Waters echo in the principles demonstrated by Jasmine and her urban agricultural comrades. Waters, known for her advocacy of organic, locally grown food, pioneered the notion of edible education, inspiring schools to integrate gardens into their curriculum. This idea underscores the informative side of urban agriculture, emphasizing that it is not just about producing food, but also about educating communities and fostering a deeper connection with what we eat. The benefits of locally grown produce are manifold. Reduced carbon footprint due to decreased transport, fresher food, and increased biodiversity are but a few. Moreover, urban gardens become unlikely havens for pollinators, contributing to the ecological health of the city. As more urban dwellers like Jasmine harvest their own tomatoes, basil, and lettuce, they also harvest the joy of self-sufficiency and a renewed relationship with their environment. The chapter concludes with a rousing call to action. The urban agriculture movement is ripe for your participation. Scratch beneath the surface of your daily routine and plant the seeds of change. Transform your balcony, your rooftop, your windowsill into an oasis of sustainability. Align with your community, share your harvest, and educate others. Together, we can cultivate the future, one garden at a time. With that, the chapter closes, and readers are encouraged to think ahead to Chapter 3, where the narrative will shift gears to explore the connections between sustainable living and innovative urban transport solutions. The wheels of change are turning, and just as the ground is fertile for agriculture, the city's streets beckon for a greener way to move. As the page turned to Chapter 3, Jasmine Tran, with soil still cradled under her fingernails from her morning toil in her balcony garden, set her sights on a new horizon, the bustling streets below. The morning rush buzzed with an energy that both invigorated and alarmed her, for the parade of cars streaming through the roads was a stark reminder of the environmental costs inching upwards with each passing vehicle. From her vantage point, Jasmine imagined a transformative cityscape, one where the hum of traffic was replaced with the gentle whir of bicycles and the soft footfalls of pedestrians. The chapter dove deep into the heart of sustainable urban transportation. Interviews with city planners and residents, woven through Jasmine's contemplation, revealed a tapestry of initiatives and personal journeys challenging the status quo of urban mobility. Jasmine sought out Alex Rios, a city planner known for his visionary transit proposals, and posed a question that was at the heart of her exploration. How can we pivot urban transportation to become a cornerstone of sustainable living? Alex's response was immediate and passionate. The key lies in integration and incentives. He explained that urban agriculture could serve as transit-oriented development, where community gardens and farmers markets could become focal points for public transit routes, thereby supporting both sustainability and accessibility. Jasmine also engaged with Sofia Martinez, once a relentless driver, now turned avid cyclist. Sofia's narrative of transformation was not unlike the seedling growth that Jasmine had fostered on her balcony. Sofia described her initial skepticism and the subsequent liberation she felt from relinquishing the wheel in favor of handlebars. It wasn't simply a change in transportation, it was a rediscovery of community, health, and connection to the environment. The chapter uncovered the stark statistics of carbon emissions resulting from personal vehicles, painting a picture of impressive and immediate benefits when opting for sustainable alternatives. A local initiative was spotlighted, Pedals for Progress, which distributed refurbished bikes and offered cycling safety classes to encourage a shift towards 2 wheels over 4. Electric scooters, a newer entrant into the urban transit mix, were presented alongside a nuanced discussion on the challenges and opportunities of integrating such tech-based solutions. Public transportation, too, was revisited as a steadfast ally in this quest for a cleaner commute, with cities around the globe innovating to make their bus and rail systems more attractive, efficient, and environmentally friendly. By the end of the chapter, readers were guided through the layers of possibility that awaited urban dwellers who dared to reimagine their daily commute. Jasmine's vision was no longer a solitary dream, but one echoed in the ambitions and actions of urban planners, commuters, and activists striving for a path forward where the streets are as verdant and vibrant as the gardens above them. The chapter concluded with a quote from an interview with a group of high school students who had started a Bike to School program. "We're not just cutting down on emissions, we're fueling a movement." And that, Jasmine mused, was the true journey worth taking. The air was thick with the possibilities of change, the horizon of a city reinventing itself in real time. Jasmine gathered her notes, scribbled with anecdotes and visions from urban warriors fighting the good fight against the behemoth of carbon emissions. Every interview, every late-night reading session brought her closer to understanding the profound impact of sustainable urban transportation. Across town, Peter Zhu, a senior city planner dedicated to sustainable initiatives, leaned into the glow of a looming monitor. Maps of the city were layered with colorful threads representing current and proposed bike paths, which snaked through the city's concrete jungle like lifelines. "It's like weaving a giant tapestry," Peter explained during a webinar for concerned citizens. "Each route is a strand that carries the potential for a cleaner, healthier community." On weekends, Jasmine observed families at the local park partaking in Wheels and Wellness, a community program organized by the city's recreational department. Children giggled while scooting alongside their parents, who confidently rode electric bicycles, their smiles reflecting a deeper satisfaction than mere recreation. These were scenes of solidarity, snapshots of a paradigm shift where people chose leg power over horsepower. But Jasmine's story wouldn't be complete without touching the lives of those for whom sustainable transport was not just a choice, but a necessity. Maria Gonzalez, a single mother of 3, shared her praise for the city's improved bus services. "It's economical, and I can get anywhere I need to without having to worry about parking or gas. Plus, teaching my kids about taking care of the earth this way is a bonus." Maria's voice added to the growing chorus of citizens finding liberation in leaving their cars behind. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, Jasmine met with the Pedals for Progress team, who were hosting their monthly workshop on bicycle maintenance and safety. The club's founder, Roberto Silva, a former professional cyclist, beamed as he watched participants, young and old, meticulously caring for their 2-wheeled steeds. Bicycles are more than a mode of transport, he said, handing Jasmine a greased wrench. They're vehicles of change. Each story wove a thread into the complex fabric of sustainable urban life, and as Jasmine penned the final sentences of the chapter, she was engulfed with a sense of progress. With her heart buoyant with hope, she captured the essence of the collective endeavor. In our quest for sustainability, we tread paths sown with resilience and determination, etching a greener blueprint for future generations. The chapter concluded with a glimpse into the preparation for the city's upcoming Car-Free Day, an ambitious initiative encouraging residents to experience the city in a new rhythm, unhurried, uncluttered, and unpolluted by the hum of engines. Entering its 5th year, the event promised to be the most extensive yet, with workshops, pop-up parks, and street performers turning the cityscape into a lively showcase of sustainable living. It's a day to remember why we do this, Jasmine reflected, to carless roads and more carefree souls. Jasmine's journey into the sustainable urban transport narrative unfolds further as she delves into the testimonies of individuals who've embraced the change. As Car-Free Day dawns, the streets, usually buzzing with the cacophony of car engines, fill with the sounds of laughter, conversation, and the occasional ring of a bicycle bell. The city's arteries, cleared of their usual metallic blockages, pulse with a new kind of life. At a booth adorned with vibrant banners promoting pedal power, Jasmine meets Alan Kim, a former taxi driver turned cycling advocate. "You know, I've driven these streets for over 2 decades, Alan shares, clasping a mug adorned with the logo of the Wheels and Wellness program, and never have I seen them this alive. He gestures to the families and friends cycling together, the group of teenagers skillfully maneuvering their electric scooters, the face-painted children chasing each other between the legs of adults. There's community here, real connection. It's not just about cutting emissions, it's about stitching the fabric of society back together." Jasmine scribbles fervently in her notebook, each story breathing life into the statistics and policies she's studied. She understands that Alan's perspective paints a broader picture, one that goes beyond just transportation and touches on the essence of urban living. Later, she finds herself among a circle of listeners, enraptured by a city planner named Claudia Rivera. With a projector casting luminous diagrams and figures upon a makeshift screen, Claudia explains the economic rationale behind promoting sustainable mobility. The environmental benefits are clear, and the social impact is invaluable, but let's not forget the economic incentive. Reducing reliance on personal vehicles means less spending on fuel, maintenance, and the hidden costs, like healthcare expenses due to pollution-related illnesses. The crowd nods in agreement, eyes wide as they absorb the information. Jasmine's article takes shape, a rich tapestry threaded with the voices of the city's inhabitants and the visionary hearts of its planners. She realizes that Car-Free Day isn't just an event, it's a glimpse into an attainable future, a pilot project showing urbanites what life could be if their cityscape prioritized people over cars. As the sun casts its golden glow over the transformed boulevards, she senses the chapter drawing to a close. A day of celebration, enlightenment, and a shared vision of sustainability, etched in the mind's eye of each attendee, promising a cleaner, closer-knit world. The story closes at dusk, with the streets gradually opening up to their motorized companions once more. But the air remains changed, and so do the hearts of those who walked, cycled, and scooted through a day marked by a collective leap forward in pursuit of an enduring, greener world. As the echoes of Car-Free Day fade into the bustling night, a reflective mood settles over the city. The event has stirred a collective consciousness among urban dwellers regarding the impact of their day-to-day choices on the planet's health. It becomes evident that incorporating sustainable practices into daily life does not stop at transportation. There is much more to be done, particularly in how energy is consumed within the walls of their own homes. The next morning, a forum titled "Energy Efficiency, the Keystone of Urban Sustainability" garners attention. Alan Kim, the energetic entrepreneur who pioneered solar-powered street kiosks, takes the stage. Standing before a model of an energy-efficient building, he explains how retrofitting older structures can significantly reduce carbon footprints. His passion is palpable as he details insulating materials which, when integrated into existing walls, can decrease energy loss substantially. Claudia Rivera, with her expertise in community organization, joins him to promote the event. She focuses on the social aspects, emphasizing the building of neighborhood initiatives around power-saving measures. The chapter delves further into pragmatic solutions. Energy auditors are introduced to the narrative, visiting homes to identify areas where energy escapes and offering tailored advice to homeowners. The installation of smart thermostats is highlighted, capable of learning a family's routine and adjusting the home's temperature for maximum efficiency. Through the lens of the forum's attendees, the story explores the excitement surrounding breakthroughs in green technology. Innovations such as high-efficiency LED lighting and advanced window glazing are discussed, along with the importance of Energy Star-rated appliances. The concept of the smart grid is broached, illustrating how enhanced communication between energy providers and consumers can lead to a more robust and responsive electricity network, thus aiding in peak load management. As the chapter progresses, the narrative shifts to the personal testimonies of city residents. One young couple shows off their recently installed rooftop solar panels, describing the satisfaction of watching their meter run backward on sunny days. An elderly resident shares her experience with upgrading to a high-efficiency water heater, marveling at the drop in her monthly bills. Closing the chapter, the forum ends with a call to action. Individuals are encouraged to take small but meaningful steps towards energy efficiency, with incentives such as rebates and tax credits brought into the spotlight. The city pledges to work on facilitating these changes, signaling a commitment to a sustainable future with every light bulb changed, each thermostat programmed, and all appliances upgraded. The fervor in the room was tangible. Alan Kim, a renowned expert in sustainable architecture, began his segment expounding on the virtues of home retrofitting, a process of modifying existing structures with energy-efficient equipment and materials. With the charisma of a seasoned orator, he described the intricacies of insulation techniques that could preserve heat in the winter and keep homes cool in the summer. Claudia Rivera, with her background in electrical engineering, took the stage next. She focused on the importance of phantom loads, the energy consumed by devices when they are turned off but not unplugged. She guided the audience through simple measures such as using smart power strips and adopting a habit of unplugging devices when not in use. The crowd listened intently as local startup founders showcased their innovative green technologies. One such entrepreneur revealed a smart home system that intuitively adjusted energy consumption based on usage patterns, while another unveiled a compact, in-home gray water recycling unit. These advancements promise to reduce the ecological footprint of urban homes significantly. Amid these expert presentations, every so often, individuals from the crowd would rise, sharing heartfelt stories of their journeys towards a less energy-intensive lifestyle. A young couple spoke passionately about their decision to only purchase energy-efficient appliances. They admitted the initial cost was a hurdle, but the long-term savings and environmental impact swayed them. The gathering concluded with a resource fair where residents mingled with representatives from energy-efficient appliance manufacturers, solar companies, and local craftsmen who specialized in retrofitting older homes. Pamphlets, model demonstrations, and sign-up sheets for home energy audits were in abundance, ensuring attendees had the tools and knowledge to transform their interest into action. As the evening sun set over the skyline, the urban community had not only shared in a wealth of information, but had also witnessed the germination of a collective pursuit, a pursuit towards a more sustainable and energy-conscious existence, nestled within the very heart of the concrete jungle. Alan Kim, a pioneer in smart home energy systems, took to the stage with an aura of enthusiasm. His presentation was not just about the gadgets that could turn a house into an energy-saving hub, but about a lifestyle that could be attained through conscious choices. Pointing to interactive thermostats, LED lighting systems, and high-efficiency heat pumps, he explained how these devices not only reduce carbon footprints, but also lower utility bills. Heating and cooling, Allen emphasized, account for nearly half of the home's energy consumption. Smart thermostats can learn your schedule and preferences, making adjustments that are both comfortable and economical. The crowd listened intently, their minds alight with the potential savings and environmental benefits. Claudia Rivera shared her expertise next. As an architect committed to green design, she revealed how retrofitting older buildings with modern insulation and energy-efficient windows could significantly cut down on wasted energy. She provided case studies showing before and after scenarios that illustrated dramatic improvements in energy usage and living comfort. It's about maintaining the character of your home, she said, while ushering it into the 21st century. Amidst the buzz of conversation, attendees transitioned into the resource fair. Faces were buried in brochures, fingers pointed excitedly at solar panels on display, and schedules were made for home energy assessments. One particularly animated group gathered around a small-scale model of a passive house, a building designed to be ultra-low in energy needs. Questions flew, and notes were scribbled as ideas for future home improvements took shape. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the organizers announced a series of workshops for the following months. These workshops promised deep dives into subjects like solar panel installation, rainwater harvesting, and the intricacies of heat pump technology. As the attendees dispersed into the evening, the air was electric, with newfound purpose and the promise of steps, both large and small, toward a more sustainable urban lifestyle. The chapter began to draw to a close with a narrative about a young couple, Maya and Jacob, who had attended the forum with skepticism but left with plans to retrofit their 1920s bungalow. They exchanged numbers with a local contractor who specialized in green renovations and promised to start with something simple, swapping out their old light bulbs for LEDs. This small, tangible shift in their daily routine marked the beginning of their personal journey towards sustainability. As the Energy Efficiency Forum wound down, so did the story of the day, encapsulating the collective aspirations and forthcoming transformations of the community. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, the Energy Efficiency Forum's doors closed, leaving the space filled with a palpable sense of inspiration and commitment. Maya and Jacob, the enthusiastic couple looking forward to a greener lifestyle, were not the only ones leaving with grand designs for the future. A small business owner, Alice, decided to invest in solar panels for her rooftop cafe, while a young architect, Ethan, gathered a crowd with his blueprint for a passive solar heating system that he proposed as a community project. Across the room, an energy auditor discussed the benefits of conducting home energy audits with a group of apartment dwellers. Individuals living in smaller spaces often overlooked the potential savings that could be achieved through such reviews, and the auditor's practical advice resonated with many. It's not always about the grand gestures. Sometimes it's the minute adjustments, the sealing of a drafty window, or the proper insulation of your water heater that can make a significant difference, the auditor explained, demonstrating with a thermal imaging camera pointing out areas where heat was escaping a sample window frame. Meanwhile, a vendor at the resource fair showcased a range of programmable thermostats, explaining how the simple upgrade could reduce energy consumption by allowing residents to tailor their heating and cooling to their daily routines. A couple, intrigued by the technology, discussed the potential of syncing such devices with their smartphones to provide them control even when they're away from home. The chapter began to wind down with stories of personal action plans forming. An elderly couple, intrigued by the idea of energy savings, booked a consultation to have their home assessed for solar compatibility. A student who lived in a shared apartment committed to a campaign to replace all incandescent bulbs in his building with energy-saving LED alternatives. As attendees departed, conversations about energy-efficient appliances and home retrofitting continued to buzz through the night, a testament to the success of the forum in igniting a collective drive towards sustainable living. Amidst the hum of renewed conviction, Maya and Jacob looked at each other, a twinkle in their eye. This was just the beginning of their transformation, the first step on a path that would not only change their home, but potentially inspire a whole neighborhood to embrace the sustainable practices discussed today. Maya's mind raced with the information she had gathered. She was already envisioning the solar panels on her rooftop, the energy-efficient refrigerator humming quietly in her kitchen, and the smart thermostat adjusting the temperature of her apartment with the precision of a seasoned conductor. She made a mental checklist of the immediate steps she could take, knowing that even small changes could amount to significant reductions in her carbon footprint. Jacob, equally inspired, had begun discussing with a group of fellow attendees the concept of a green energy challenge. The premise was to inspire friendly competition among residents of neighboring buildings to see who could achieve the greatest reduction in energy consumption over a 6-month period. The winners would be featured in the local paper, potentially drawing more public attention to their cause. It was community engagement married perfectly with sustainability goals. Along the sidelines, a group of engineers and home retrofitting experts engaged with a crowd eager to understand the nuances of high-efficiency windows and insulation. They handed out brochures and did quick calculations on expected savings. One woman, Mrs. Klein, who managed a local homeowners association, was already on the phone, excitedly detailing to a colleague the possible retrofitting grants they could tap into. The forum had clearly achieved its purpose. A network of catalysts for change was forming within the urban heart. Everyone there could sense the ripple effect that would extend well beyond the forum's walls, a true metamorphosis of urban living through the collective commitment to energy efficiency and green technology innovation. As the chapter nears its close, it leaves Maya, Jacob, and others at the cusp of real practical transformation. They are the embodiment of hope, and their journey would serve as a blueprint for others who wish to tread the same path. Maya and Jacob made their way back home, each with their own set of plans and visions for a sustainable future. The energy in the air was almost palpable. The forum had been a reservoir of innovation and practical wisdom. Maya began by auditing her home, a logical first step in understanding her current energy consumption. She used a digital energy monitor, which allowed her to see the real-time energy usage of her household. Each appliance's consumption was logged meticulously, enabling Maya to identify the worst energy offenders. The old refrigerator in the garage, once a symbol of her family's attempt to prepare for any event, was now a glaring example of inefficiency. Jacob's approach was more communal. He started by setting up the Green Energy Challenge online, inviting his neighbors to participate in reducing their carbon footprint. The challenge included simple tasks like air drying clothes, using LED lighting, and unplugging unused chargers. To sweeten the deal and promote friendly competition, he offered a prize for the most energy saved over a month, a smart thermostat that could further help the winner reduce their energy use. While Jacob evangelized on communal platforms, Maya focused on retrofitting her home. She decided to invest in energy-efficient appliances, starting with that old refrigerator. After extensive research and comparison shopping, she chose a sleek new model with an Energy Star rating. Next on her list was insulation. By properly insulating her attic and walls, she aimed to drastically cut her heating and cooling costs. The knowledge exchange from the forum had a significant ripple effect. More of Maya and Jacob's neighbors began conversations around green technology and efficiency. Over shared cups of coffee and neighborhood meetings, discussions around solar panels, rainwater harvesting, and composting became commonplace. As the chapter draws to a conclusion, the focus shifts from individual actions to the community's response. Maya's new appliances and Jacob's Green Energy Challenge served as catalysts for wider change. The story of their dedication and tangible steps taken sets the stage where the next chapter will reveal the collective power of these efforts as the neighborhood begins to transform itself through shared sustainable objectives. Maya watched as her old refrigerator was wheeled away to be replaced by a sleek, energy-efficient model. The sense of accomplishment she felt was palpable, not only because of the energy she would save, but also because her actions were inspiring her community. Jacob, meanwhile, was tallying up the energy savings accrued so far from his Green Energy Challenge. The figures were more than a testament to reduced consumption. They were symbols of a collective awakening to sustainability. But waste reduction is a vast sea, and they had only skimmed the surface. Maya was next introduced to the concept of zero waste living through a local environmental workshop. The stories of trailblazers like Bea Johnson, who lived a lifestyle producing almost no trash, were inspiring. With renewed vigor, Maya began assessing her everyday waste. She swapped out disposables for reusables, declined plastic bags, and started buying bulk goods. Jacob, on his part, initiated a neighborhood recycling program. He organized workshops to educate people about the nuances of recycling: the what, the how, and the why. It wasn't long before brightly colored recycle bins became a regular sight in front gardens. Jacob noticed how children became the unexpected yet enthusiastic envoys of recycling. They would remind their parents which bin the papers went into and which bin was for the plastics. As for composting, a community garden served as the perfect starting point. They set up a composting area, and soon, organic waste from the neighborhood found its way into the compost bins rather than the trash. The garden flourished, producing fresh produce for anyone involved, an enthusiastic ode to their collective effort. The community was transforming. Sustainable practices were no longer the undertaking of the few, but had become the subjects of a neighborhood-wide mission. From the roots of Maya's energy audit and Jacob's challenge grew a network of green initiatives intertwining through the community, setting a local example that perhaps could one day influence an entire city. The transformation became visible through increased interaction. The once quiet neighborhood, now abuzz with exchanges of ideas, seedlings, and sustainable living tips. As the chapter draws to a conclusion, the focus remains steady on the community's response. Renovated with shared objectives, the neighborhood is no longer just an urban space, but a burgeoning example of what collective sustainable efforts can achieve. The story of Maya's commitment to change and Jacob's galvanizing challenges has shown that the drop can indeed ripple out to become a wave. The heart of any sustainable urban initiative is its ability to minimize waste. Reducing the trash that overflows landfills is a mission that calls for both innovation and commitment. To this end, residents like Bea Johnson have become local celebrities within the community, pioneers who are not only practicing but also educating others on how to live a zero-waste lifestyle. When Bea Johnson moved into the neighborhood, she brought with her a remarkable story: a family of 4 generating a mere quart of waste per year. The Johnsons' methods became the gold standard that others sought to emulate. Their home was a model of meticulous sorting, reusing, and recycling, and the family adhered to a simple yet profound mantra: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rot. Their mantra was not just a strategy, but a way of life, and the ripple effect it created began to influence the entire community. The community meetings that Maya and Jacob started had grown both in regularity and in the number of attendees. Meetings had transitioned into dynamic workshops as neighbors made pledges to reduce their own waste footprint. Sessions on how to refuse unnecessary packaging, reduce consumption, choose reusable options, and correctly recycle different materials were held, featuring guest speakers like Bea Johnson, who offered practical advice drawn from her experience. ROT, the last of Bea's principles, focused on the importance of composting organic waste. This initiative had shaped the community garden, which thrived, alluding to a circular life cycle that was both philosophical and pragmatic. As the community's waste reduction initiatives took root, the focus expanded beyond households to the neighborhood's retail environments. Local stores began offering bulk purchase options, encouraging shoppers to bring their own containers. Plastic bags vanished, replaced by reusable ones, while cardboard and paper recycling bins became commonplace. The neighborhood coffee shop even started a program offering discounts to customers who brought their own cups. All these individual actions, no matter how small, had a cumulative effect. The neighborhood's previously unnoticed waste receptacles now stood half empty on collection days, a powerful visual testament to the strides made by residents. Enthused by their successes, they began to dream bigger, envisioning sustainability projects that transcended individual homes and bled into the infrastructure of their urban space. Conversations began to include larger-scale projects, including the idea of retrofitting buildings with rooftop solar panels and creating a networked grid to share surplus energy. Energy efficiency meetings started to include city planners and local businesses, each presenting their resources and willingness to partake in this collective effort. The community garden's success had led to the establishment of a local farmers market, not only providing access to fresh produce, but also creating a platform for environmental education and local entrepreneurship. The seeds of change, figuratively and literally, had not only been planted, but were now flourishing. In the fading light of one particularly productive meeting, reflections on the journey thus far became a shared moment of pride. From Maya's energy-saving appliances to the stories of families like the Johnsons, the neighborhood had proven that conscious consumerism was not only possible, but also practical. The community, now an emblem of environmental stewardship, was poised to embark on the next chapter of their collective saga. The ripples of change within the community were tangible. Each household had taken to heart the lessons from the workshops organized by Maya and Jacob, conscientiously sorting their waste into recyclables, compost, and lastly, the very minimal trash. The vibrant poster campaigns highlighting reduce, reuse, recycle had transformed the landscape of local stores, and waste sorting bins became a common sight. Jacob had become something of a trailblazer in the repair movement. His weekend workshops on fixing everything from leaky faucets to broken electronics saved many items from the landfill. Through his efforts, the community was learning that repairing and maintaining could go a long way in minimizing waste. Maya, meanwhile, had spearheaded an initiative to ban single-use plastics in the neighborhood. It was ambitious, but the shift in community mindset was palpable. Under her direction, local businesses started offering incentives for customers who brought their reusable bags, containers, and cups. With these small, progressive steps, the community was edging closer to its zero-waste goal. The Johnson family's example had been particularly stirring. Stories of their dedication to a zero-waste lifestyle were frequently shared at community gatherings. They had famously reduced their annual waste to fit into a single mason jar, and were a living testament to the attainability of an environmentally conscious life. Bea Johnson herself had visited the neighborhood for a special seminar sharing the finer points of her zero-waste philosophy. The community hung on her every word, eager to learn from her experiences. It was Bea who had introduced them to the zero-waste hierarchy: refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, rot, a mantra that had quickly become the neighborhood's guiding principle. Emboldened by these successes, the neighborhood was ready to expand its environmental endeavors. The local school made recycling and composting a part of its curriculum, and students took to the lessons with enthusiasm, forming a green patrol to ensure the school's strict adherence to its newfound eco-friendly guidelines. As the chapter in their story neared its closing paragraphs, residents gathered to celebrate their achievements. Their combined efforts had not only reduced their waste output significantly, but had also sown the seeds for a sustainable future. The community was now buzzing with talks of larger projects, from harnessing solar energy to establishing a local farmers market. The engagement of each individual had cultivated a collective strength, and now they stood ready at the precipice of an even grander endeavor. The twilight of the evening cast a golden hue over the faces of those assembled. They were not just neighbors. They were co-authors of a new chapter in urban sustainability. As they bade farewell, the glimmer of determination in their eyes mirrored the stars emerging in the night sky. The journey ahead was clear, and they were united in their resolve to traverse it together. Encouraged by the spirit of cooperation and motivated by the Johnson family's achievements, the residents began to focus on the next phase: zero-waste initiatives with a broader scope. Maya, who had spearheaded previous environmental efforts, stood in front of the community center, her eyes gleaming with the same passion that had ignited this movement. "Our shared efforts have created a ripple that can turn into a wave," she said, addressing the crowd that had gathered. "The next step in our journey towards sustainability is about integrating new green technologies and strengthening our local economy while maintaining our hard-earned waste reduction principles." Jacob elaborated on Maya's point. adding that the installation of solar panels across the community's rooftops would not only reduce the reliance on non-renewable energy, but also provide educational opportunities for local schools. Discussions on the optimal placement of the panels to harness the maximum amount of sunlight reflected the thoughtful approach the community was now known for. Meanwhile, preparations for the local farmers market were underway. The vacant lot at the corner of Fifth and Elm, once littered with debris, was transforming into a vibrant site for fresh produce and community gatherings. The symbolic groundbreaking was an event filled with laughter and the clinking of shovels against the earth. This market promised a reduction in food miles, support for local growers, and an educational hub for sustainable agricultural practices. As each initiative took shape, Maya and Jacob realized that their work was not only reshaping the physical landscape of their urban home, but also the mentalities of its inhabitants. They nurtured a culture of sustainability that was quickly becoming the bedrock of their shared existence. With the chapter drawing to a close, the community reinforced their commitment to minimizing waste and maximizing resources. They recognized that what they had built together was more than a collection of projects. It was a template for a healthier, more sustainable urban future. As the moon rose high, casting silver arcs of light over the city, each person rested, knowing they had become part of something truly transformative. As the community awoke to a new dawn, the distant hum of construction filled the air. The solar panel installations had begun. Cranes hoisted the sleek panels onto rooftops, and workers meticulously angled them to capture the sun's trajectory. Maya stood at a distance, her hands clasped together in quiet anticipation. The shiny surfaces acted as mirrors, reflecting their commitment to a brighter future. Amidst the construction, the field that had been cleared for the farmers' market was now budding with activity. Stalls made from recycled materials began cropping up like mushrooms after rainfall. Each vendor, carefully selected by Maya, Jacob, and the community committee, was a local grower, artisan, or educator ready to share their knowledge and wares. The aroma of fresh produce mingled with the earthy scent of compost piles that bookended the market. Signs explaining the value of buying locally and reducing food miles hung with pride above the vendors' stands. Jacob took the initiative to organize the first of many workshops. With his passion for teaching and the community's eagerness to learn, the local community center turned into a hub of shared knowledge. The inaugural workshop focused on recycling. It dissected the complexities of urban waste management, the importance of proper sorting, and how to identify recyclable materials. Bea Johnson, the renowned zero-waste advocate, was invited to speak. Her family's story, living proof of the possible, resonated with the hearts and minds of her listeners. She held up a single mason jar, its contents representing a year's worth of her family's non-compostable waste. The room, packed to the brim, let out a collective gasp. As the week progressed, murmurs of enthusiasm evolved into conversations of change. Residents swapped single-use plastics for reusable containers, lined their kitchen counters with jars for dry goods, and began carrying cloth bags. The sight was heartening to the community leaders, embodying the eco-conscious groundwork onto which their urban sustainability model thrived. They knew that changing habits was the cornerstone of their mission. The final event of the chapter was the Zero Waste Home Workshop led by Bea Johnson herself. The community gathered, notebooks in hand, as Bea distilled her philosophy of refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. A couple eagerly shared their shift to sustainable hygiene products, cutting out a significant portion of their plastic waste. Another resident described their balcony composting setup, underlining the viability of composting even in limited spaces. With the chapter drawing to a close, Bea Johnson's words seemed to resonate even after the room emptied. Her 5Rs philosophy had sparked inventive solutions across the neighborhood. The local coffee shop instituted a program where customers could bring their own mugs, significantly decreasing their consumption of single-use cups. A small initiative, yes, but one that contributed to a grander vision of urban sustainability. On the first official day of the farmers' market, excitement buzzed through the air. Locals wandered among the stalls, their baskets filled with seasonal produce, artisan bread, and homemade jams. Conversations struck up over the purchase of heirloom tomatoes, exchanging tips on preserving fresh herbs and making the most of every scrap of food. This was more than just a market. It was a community epicenter, where the values of reducing waste output could be witnessed in real time. Meanwhile, the community center's bulletin board was chock full of announcements for upcoming workshops. The sessions on renewable energy were especially anticipated, promising to guide residents through the intricacies of solar and wind power in urban settings. Interest in sustainable urban design hinted at the neighborhood's longer-term vision, where green spaces and efficient city planning would reduce their carbon footprint further. Challenges did arise. Some attempts at DIY composting resulted in failed efforts and unwanted critters. But the community rallied, sharing their successes and failures with humor and persistence. A local engineer offered a free session to improve composting techniques, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth and education. As the sun set on a successful day, the future gleamed with potential. The residents knew that each small action contributed to a greater collective impact. The story of urban dwellers embracing sustainable living was just beginning to unfold. Chapter 6. The Ripple Effect of Water Conservation. In cities teeming with lights and life, the crisis of water scarcity started as a whisper, slowly escalating into a chorus of urgent voices. Urban populations were blooming, and with every new resident, the pressure on already strained water resources tightened. The community, inspired by their recent forays into sustainable living, turned their attention to this vital issue with dedication and a sense of urgency. The drive for change began with a seemingly simple question posed at a community meeting. How can we, as city residents, contribute to solving the water scarcity problem? A panel of experts was invited to discuss water conservation methods suitable for an urban lifestyle. The first wave of action was informational. Flyers and digital messages about short showers and turning off the tap while brushing teeth became commonplace. The community leaned into awareness, but they knew that saving water required more than just mindful habits. It needed systemic changes and technical innovation. Selena, an environmental engineer who had made her home in the city, stepped forward to offer her expertise. She hosted a seminar on water-saving fixtures, explaining how low-flow faucets, dual-flush toilets, and efficient washing machines could dramatically reduce household water consumption. Local hardware stores began to stock these items, often offering discounts to encourage residents to make the switch. But the community's efforts did not stop with individual action. Discussions turned to policy, and the eyes of the committee were drawn to cities like Singapore. Known for its stringent water policies, Singapore's success in water conservation was due to a blend of public education, technological adoption, and legislative foresight. The residents of the neighborhood aspired to replicate this holistic approach on a scale suitable to their locale. They contacted local government representatives, advocating for the use of rainwater harvesting systems in public buildings and incentivizing the installation of water-saving fixtures in homes and businesses. Stories of progress and change began to ripple outward as the community shared their experiences online and with neighboring districts. The impact of their actions, seen through lower utility bills and a heightened sense of environmental agency, fueled their resolve. Each positive outcome, no matter how small, was celebrated as a victory in their ongoing battle against water scarcity. As the chapter came to a close, the community understood that the journey to preserve every drop was not a sprint, but a marathon. With determination in their hearts and innovation in their minds, they prepared to turn their attention to the next step of their sustainable living crusade, embracing sustainable urban design principles. The pathway to water sustainability was anchored in a robust public education campaign. The community's leaders, alongside environmental activists, organized workshops highlighting the benefits of water conservation and the dire consequences of inaction. Residents, young and old, were taught how to read their water meters and understand their water bills, which empowered them to make informed decisions about their water use. Awareness spread about seemingly simple habits that could lead to significant savings. Turning off the faucet while brushing teeth, fixing leaks promptly, and reusing gray water from baths and washing machines to irrigate plants. These practices, once uncommon, gradually became the norm. Kitchen discussions were no longer about the weather, but about how much water one saved that month, reflecting a profound shift in the community's culture. Simultaneously, the City Council introduced incentives for the adoption of water-saving fixtures. New buildings came fitted with low-flow toilets and faucets, while retrofitting older structures with these devices was subsidized. Residents marveled at how these technologies provided the same level of comfort while cutting down on water use. A sense of pride grew in the community as they not only adapted, but embraced the changes essential for sustainable living. The chapter would be incomplete without mentioning the innovative policies of Singapore, a city that had effectively turned its water crisis into an opportunity for world-class water sustainability leadership. Urban planners from the community visited Singapore to study their water conservation methods, including new water technology and the integration of a comprehensive water pricing strategy. Eager to apply these lessons, they returned home with fresh perspectives on policies that could be tailored to their own city's needs. Inspired by this, the community initiated pilot projects for rainwater harvesting and began evaluating the benefits of a scaled-up version. They also held discussions with local businesses to encourage them to adopt water-efficient processes, offering tax incentives as a nudge in the right direction. As advancements in technology and policy began to intertwine with the community's culture of conservation, there emerged a new ethos: to act mindfully and sustainably, knowing each step forward helped secure a more resilient future for all. Their actions laid the foundation for building a city not only more efficient in its water usage, but one that celebrated water as a precious shared resource. The chapter was far from over, but the strides made were promising. The next challenge awaited: the integration of green spaces, which would not only beautify the city, but help manage its water resources more holistically. In the heart of the urban labyrinth, high-rise apartments stood side by side with historical buildings, reminiscent of the city's thirst for both growth and preservation. People bustled through the concrete jungles, now growing conscious of the water that snaked through pipes beneath their feet, an element once taken for granted. Amidst this awakening, residents adopted water-saving habits with enthusiasm. Low-flow toilets became as common as LED light bulbs, and shower heads, which had once poured forth water without consideration, were replaced with models designed to atomize water into mist, significantly reducing usage. Kitchens were equipped with aerators on faucets, and the sound of dripping taps being fixed became the new background score of the city nights. The community's change was palpable. Where once the sound of water was a common occurrence, now a mindful silence prevailed. This behavioral change was bolstered by policy. City planners, taking a leaf out of Singapore's book, piloted a high-tech water recycling program called New Water. Buildings began to install systems to collect and purify gray water for non-potable purposes. Furthermore, public spaces like parks and centers were designed to collect rainwater into large underground cisterns for irrigation. People marveled at how transparent the government had been with implementing these policies, providing real-time data on water savings that further galvanized the community's efforts. Then came the ripple effect. Water conservation in individual households and policies bred a deeper reverence for the environment, sparking discussions on sustainable urban design. The community started planning for green spaces, rooftop gardens, and vertical forests, not just as an aesthetic touch, but as lungs for the city and natural sponges to manage stormwater. This green infrastructure, they learned, was critical in reducing flood risks and purifying the air. The transformation of the city was not just functional, it was becoming visibly lush. Children played in community gardens where once there was only barren land, learning about the water cycle through hands-on experience. Architects and engineers collaborated on designs for bioswales and rain gardens along pathways and roads, integrating them attractively within the urban terrain. It was still a city of metal and concrete, but the green tendrils of change were winding their way through the urban landscape. They provided not only ecological services, but also a tangible connection between the community and their environment. it became clear that every small, sustainable change brought them one step closer to living in harmony with nature while harnessing the conveniences of urban living. As the residents looked forward to the remaining challenges, they did so with the knowledge that their dedicated efforts were making a discernible difference, changing their cityscape into something more sustainable and resilient. As the campaign for water conservation gained momentum, urban residents started to adopt more conscientious habits in their daily lives. Simple acts like catching the cool, unused water that greeted them before their showers heated up were repurposed to water household plants or flush toilets, creating a closed-loop system within their own walls. Innovative water-saving fixtures became a point of conversation in local coffee shops, with neighbors keenly comparing the efficiencies of low-flow showerheads and faucet aerators they had installed. The local hardware store, sensing the shifting tide, began stocking up on these devices, providing discounts to catalyze change. It wasn't just about saving money anymore. It was a collective mission to safeguard the city's future. Meanwhile, city planners, inspired by the foresight of Singapore's policies, were drafting robust water management strategies. They envisaged a city where every building captured and repurposed rainwater to its full potential. Seminars and workshops were organized, bringing in experts to share knowledge about dual plumbing systems that divided the use of potable and non-potable water. This paradigm shift was acknowledged by the local government, which started offering incentives for buildings that met certain sustainable water benchmarks. All these efforts contributed to a palpable sense of pride among the residents. The city was now punctuated with pockets of lush greenery, where children learned about the importance of water in their school curriculums and played in parks irrigated with reclaimed water. Each green space acted as a sponge in the urban fabric, absorbing rainwater, reducing the strain on sewage systems, and replenishing the groundwater supplies. The chapter closes with the Planning Committee unveiling their blueprint for the next phase, a network of interconnected green spaces. These sustainable projects, such as rooftop gardens and vertical forests, promise not only to beautify the city, but also to function as the city's lungs, filtering the air and providing respite from the urban heat island effect. With vibrant illustrations and models, they showcased how bioswales and rain gardens would weave through the community, transforming mundane streets into ecosystems buzzing with life. As the community embraced the challenge of conserving water, individual efforts mushroomed into collective action. In residential buildings, faucets, showerheads, and toilets were swapped out for low-flow models designed to use minimal water without sacrificing performance. The gentle hum of dishwashers and washing machines now signaled the thrifty use of water, as modern, efficient appliances became the norm. Local schools added a practical twist to their curriculum, organizing workshops where children could learn to build their own rain barrels. The simple act of collecting rain runoff for gardening seemed almost like play, yet it bore the profound message of conservation. Slowly, this lesson permeated through the social fabric, sowing a culture of sustainability across age groups. City officials, who had closely monitored the situation in Singapore, were drawing from a playbook written by a global leader in water conservation. They rolled out incentives for businesses that implemented water audit programs to assess their water footprint and reduce waste. Cash rebates and tax reductions became a calculated investment into the city's water future. Public spaces, too, were reimagined, with city parks featuring ornamental yet functional stormwater ponds that captivated onlookers while serving to recharge aquifers. The shift was palpable. Consumption rates began to dip, and the city's waterscape, which once seemed on the brink of exhaustion, now shimmered with newfound vitality. It was within this promising context that the city planners presented their pièce de résistance, the Green Network. Erecting this framework of lush, verdant harmony would be their litmus test, proving to the world that even the most concrete of jungles could bloom with the spirit of sustainability. The chapter concluded with the people standing at the cusp of change, ready to seed the skies with gardens and clothe the edifices in forests. They were on the path to something more than mere survival. They were on the path to thriving. Chapter 7, breathing life into concrete. In the heart of the city, change was no longer a whisper on the wind, but a tangible reality touching the lives of every urban dweller. The Green Network's rollout was the city's bold response to the clarion call of sustainable living. This phase of urban evolution focused on the preparation, facing unforeseen challenges, and celebrating the early outcomes of introducing a verdant landscape among steel and glass monoliths. Preparation began with education and empowerment. Architects and builders gathered to understand the principles of sustainable architecture, deeply rooted in the concept of living in harmony with nature. The city hosted a series of workshops, inviting not just professionals, but residents too, delving into the methods of integrating greenery into urban design. They discussed the revolutionary work of architects like Ken Yang and his bioclimatic skyscrapers, which opened eyes to the potential of high-rise buildings that were not just structures, but ecosystems. The challenge was to retrofit the old with the new. Historical buildings and outdated skyscrapers loomed as Goliaths before the Green Davids, but the spirit of innovation was indomitable. Eco-conscious architects faced these monoliths, armed with vertical gardens that could both preserve the architectural heritage and introduce a new layer of sustainability. Lightweight soil systems and modular planters started to adorn the facades, turning gray to green, challenging the urban ethos by proving that even an aged building could sustain a green heartbeat. Yet, as these pilots emerged victorious, they revealed the complexity of such transformations. Water management had to be ingenious to support rooftop gardens without overburdening the existing infrastructure. Innovative irrigation and rainwater harvesting systems were trialed, coupled with sensor-based monitoring to minimize waste. Again, the community was involved, with local residents tending to the newly formed aerial Edens, forming a bond with nature that soared above the concrete below. The initial outcomes were inspiring. A cascade of greenery began to soften the harsh lines of urbanity, putting forth not just an aesthetic appeal, but tangible benefits. The rooftop gardens became insular oases, moderating temperatures within the buildings and leading to a noticeable reduction in the urban heat island effect. They acted as natural air purifiers, and as the plants grew, so did the buzz of urban pollinators, bringing biodiversity back into the cityscape. Vertical forests crept up the sides of apartment towers, serving as living billboards demonstrating the city's commitment to integrating nature into daily life. The success sowed the seeds for a broader application, galvanizing both the public sector and private developers. Community participation soared as people realized the power they held in contributing to their city's transformation. From school children planting the first seeds to elderly couples nurturing blossoming green walls from their balconies, the endeavor crossed generational divides and knit the community closer together. As the chapter drew to a close, the city looked vastly different from the urban dwellers, once strangers to the notion of green living, now found themselves at the heart of a pioneering green revolution. Architects like Ken Yang became household names in this process, their daring designs fueling aspirations of a biophilic urban landscape. Yang's bioclimatic skyscrapers weren't mere structures, but self-sustaining ecosystems reaching towards the heavens. Their sinuous forms interlaced with natural vegetation, harnessing the sun, wind, and rain to reduce reliance on artificial energy. One of the most lauded projects was the Verdant Tower, a marvel that epitomized green integration with urban living. The building's facade came alive with a tapestry of indigenous plant species, selected for their hardiness and minimal need for water. The architecture made efficient use of natural ventilation, reducing the need for mechanical cooling. Rainwater harvesting systems glittered like jeweled crowns atop the structure, channeling nourishment for the abundant plant life and supplying non-potable water needs. Solar panels, seamlessly integrated into the design, complemented the green aesthetic while powering the tower's common areas. The success of Yang's principles in the Verdant Tower inspired a new generation of architects and engineers who sought to blend function with ecological sensitivity. Universities added sustainability studios to their programs, where students engaged in the practical design of bioclimatic buildings, eager to leave their imprint on the skylines of tomorrow. As the Green Network initiative expanded, retrofitting older buildings presented challenges and opportunities. One bygone factory was transformed into a community hub, featuring a green roof teeming with native flora. Its interior became a bastion of eco-education, showcasing sustainable design practices while preserving the architectural heritage. Challenges with water management led to technological advancements, such as state-of-the-art graywater recycling systems that spurred the city's resilience in times of drought or deluge. Economic impact and green jobs. Amidst this transformation, the city's economy too began to shift. The construction and maintenance of these living structures created a surge in jobs, from urban farmers to green roofing specialists. Entrepreneurs emerged, establishing businesses in urban agriculture and sustainable building materials. The circular economy gained traction, and the value of green capital was recognized not just as an environmental asset, but a financial one as well. The landscape of the city continued to change, both figuratively and literally. Historical buildings, once cloaked in smog, now stood juxtaposed against shimmering walls of green, their allure refreshed and their legacies preserved. Green spaces, once confined to parks and isolated lots, now wove through the city in a continuous thread, connecting neighborhoods and providing a much-needed refuge for both people and wildlife. As the chapter drew to a close, the city looked vastly different from the gray, concrete jungle it once was. It had transformed into a beacon of sustainability, a testament to the fact that even the most urban of environments could find harmony with the earth. A verdant skyline had risen, breathing new life into the urban experience, fostering a deep-rooted sense of community as the journey towards a greener future progressed. Nestled within the urban sprawl, the verdant tower stood as a testament to what the future of green building could look like. It's not just an office complex, it's the pulsing heart of the city's sustainability efforts. The tower boasted a vertical garden that climbed its entire length, a living tapestry of green against the concrete and steel of the city. Photovoltaic panels glittered in the sun, capturing energy and feeding it back to the grid, while an advanced water recycling system whispered beneath the surface, unseen but indispensable. Internationally renowned for his bioclimatic skyscrapers, Ken Yang had set a new standard with his design of Verdant Tower. His philosophy went beyond mere energy efficiency and renewable resources. He believed that the building must exist in harmony with the local climate, culture, and biodiversity. Yang's towers were living organisms within the urban landscape, his designs meticulously detailed to reflect the symbiotic relationship between nature and human habitation. Inspirations such as Yang's approach began to crop up around the city. Small architectural firms and community groups started to champion their own versions of sustainable living spaces. Retrofitting older buildings with green roofs, reflective glass, and efficient insulation became a movement, preserving history while pointing firmly toward the future. The community's investment in these projects was evident. Every weekend, volunteers gathered to install rain gardens and solar panels, embodying a new culture of urban stewardship. To encourage this wave of transformation, the city initiated a Green Building Challenge, inviting architects and developers to reimagine spaces and compete for the most innovative, sustainable designs. These endeavors were celebrated during the annual Green Architecture Festival, where models and plans for proposed structures were on display. Workshops enlightened curious citizens, and discussions about the intertwining of urban life with ecological principles buzzed with fervor and anticipation. The narrative of sustainable architecture was not limited to grand projects. It also found its way into the fabric of daily lives through educational hubs and centers dedicated to teaching sustainable living practices. Courses on green construction methods, seminars on energy conservation, and workshops on adaptive reuse of materials inspired a new generation of architects, planners, and conscious citizens. As the chapter drew to a close, the skyline shimmered with promise. It was a powerful symbol of the city's commitment to a future where state-of-the-art green buildings were the norm, not the exception. The vision of a fully sustainable urban environment was coming into clearer focus, one structure at a time, redefining what it meant to live in the city. In the heart of the city, the Verdant Tower stood as a testament to the power of green architecture. This awe-inspiring edifice, a lush vertical garden intertwined with living spaces, had become a beacon of inspiration for the entire urban landscape. Its facade, a patchwork of native greenery, served not just an aesthetic function, but acted as a living organism that purified the air, regulated the building's temperature, and provided a haven for urban wildlife. It was architects like Ken Yang who had pioneered this architectural revolution, integrating nature into the built environment. Yang's bioclimatic skyscrapers around the world showcase the symbiotic relationship between human dwellings and the environment. His design philosophy centered on the concept that buildings should be designed to optimize the climatic conditions of their sites, harnessing sunlight, wind, and rain to create a self-regulating, ecologically attuned structure. Not far from the verdant grandeur of the tower, a newly constructed residential complex was taking shape, applying Yang's principles. Named the Eco Nest, it featured photovoltaic cells that glistened in the sunlight, converting the abundant solar energy into usable power. Rainwater harvesting systems channeled the seasonal downpours into massive underground cisterns, ensuring water conservation and reuse. The complex even boasted communal spaces that could transform into farmers markets or local art venues, fostering a sense of sustainable community living. Out on the streets, the buzz of construction was a melody of progress. Small, dilapidated buildings were being retrofitted with green roofs and urban gardens. These once neglected spaces now supported a variety of plant life, contributing to urban biodiversity and providing fresh produce to local communities. Architects and city planners convened regularly at a forum known as the Ecopolis Roundtable, where debates and discussions shaped the future of the city's development. The Roundtable established a set of green metrics, specific guidelines, and benchmarks for sustainable construction that went beyond mere compliance with regulations. Buildings that achieved the green metrics distinctions became coveted locations, stirring a competitive yet collaborative spirit among builders and developers. Education continued to underpin these transformations. The Hestia Institute, named after the Greek goddess of hearth and home, became the bridge between past traditions and modern technology. Its classrooms and labs sparked innovation, where budding architects learned the delicate art of integrating green spaces into high-density urban areas. They were tasked with real-life projects, challenged to retrofit existing infrastructure rather than defaulting to the easier path of razing and rebuilding. As the chapter drew to a close, the skyline shimmered with even more promise than before. Green spires shot through the clouds, and the rumble of machines gave way to the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. The vision of a fully sustainable urban environment was no longer a distant dream, but an emerging reality, one structure at a time, redefining the essence of urban living. Among the avant-garde of sustainable architecture stands a figure whose ingenuity breathes life into the very structures he creates. Known as the father of bioclimatic skyscrapers, Dr. Ken Yang, a Malaysian architect, continues to seem generations ahead of his time. His contributions are held in high esteem by the Hestia Institute and are considered the gold standard by its students and faculty. The mastermind behind many green high-rises, Yang's distinctive design philosophy marries form with function in an ecological synergy. He eschews the conventional reliance on mechanical ventilation, instead prioritizing the natural movement of air, water, and light. Buildings inspired by his vision have become living ecosystems, with verdant facades that not only create a visual allure, but also contribute to cleaner air and lower urban heat. The concept of vertical landscaping, another hallmark of Yang's philosophy, features prominently in the Verdant Tower. This ambitious project has been tipped as a prototype for future sustainable developments around the world. Its exterior, draped in a myriad of plant species, doubles as habitats for urban wildlife, thereby strengthening the city's biodiversity. Having such a building within sight inspires the residents of the Eco Nest to embrace patio gardening, vertical green walls, and even solar cooking. At the Ecopolis Roundtable, the discussions are charged with the urgency of not only creating sustainable structures, but also ensuring that these eco-friendly paradigms are socially sustainable. The green metrics adopted are not only about resource efficiency, but also about providing accessible green spaces that enrich community life. To echo these green principles beyond the academic and architectural circles, initiatives like open house green tours allow citizens to experience these environmental marvels firsthand. The tours serve to educate the public on the benefits of green buildings and inspire a newfound respect for the environment. A recent success was a tour of a retrofitted industrial complex, showing that even the most unassuming buildings can transform into symbols of sustainability. As a tangible testament to this shift towards a greener urban ethos, the Hestia Institute showcases an annual competition inviting young architects to propose innovative, sustainable building designs. The winners receive not just acclaim, but also the opportunity to see their visions realized. It's an affirmation of the city's commitment to practical sustainability, meriting admiration from environmentalists around the world. As the chapter drew to a close, the skyline shimmered with even more promise than before. Green spires shot through the clouds, and the rumble of machines gave way to the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. The vision of a fully sustainable urban environment was no longer a distant dream, but an emerging reality, one structure at a time, redefining the essence of urban living. In the glow of the setting sun, the verdant tower stands as a testament to Dr. Ken Yang's vision, a soaring edifice of green innovation. The building's skin, a living tapestry of native plants engineered to capture rainwater and nourish the vegetation, is a beacon of sustainable design. Here, architecture and ecology are not just adjacent concepts, but interwoven into every facet, every floor, and every office space within. At ground level, the eco-nest hums with the activity of residents committed to a shared vision of low-impact living. These urban apartments are a triumph of smart design, with solar panels glinting on balconies and gray water systems quietly recycling water for non-potable uses. The eco-nest, like its high-rise brethren, serves as a blueprint for a new era of sustainable urban development, one that prioritizes the symbiosis between human habitats and the environment. At the crux of the chapter, the Ecopolis Roundtable hosts a panel discussion featuring eminent architects, city planners, and sustainability experts. The discourse delves into the delicate interplay of ethical urban development, economic viability, and environmental stewardship. A key takeaway is the unanimous agreement that sustainability should be a primary rather than secondary concern in urban development projects. The impassioned conversation lays bare the challenges faced by growing cities, but also the innovative solutions at hand. As the open house green tours carry on with their mission, there is a sense of awe among participants who, for the first time, are able to touch the mossy walls of the green habitats, inhale the purified air within the solariums, and see the tangible evidence that a sustainable lifestyle is within their reach. The tours serve as more than an educational resource. They stir the spirit and spark the imagination, empowering citizens to demand and create change. The Hestia Institute, meanwhile, concludes its annual competition with a finalist gala showcasing incredibly inventive and feasible designs for sustainable urban living. The winning designs are diverse, from water recycling communal hubs to energy-generating public art installations. Yet each is a piece of the larger mosaic of eco-conscious urbanism taking shape in the minds of these trailblazing architects. The twilight deepens over the city, and the chapter draws near its close. The metropolis slowly blinks to life, not with the usual glaring neon, but with soft bioluminescent lighting that simulates the calm of twilight all through the night. It's a statement, both poetic and practical, of the city's new ethos of living in harmony with nature's circadian rhythms. As night falls, a symposium at the latest architectural marvel, the Verdant Tower, is in full swing. Here, the city's top environmental strategists and urban planners converge under living roofs, lined with lush hanging gardens that adorn each floor. They gather not just to admire the ingenious integration of natural ecosystems into the built environment, but also to discuss how these green oases can be replicated across the urban landscape. The conversation buzzes with terms such as gray water recycling, solar gain, and thermal mass. Ken Yang himself graces the event via a live holographic presence, facilitating a masterclass on bioclimatic design. His engaging talk walks the participants through his philosophy, how structures must draw breath with the city, inhaling and exhaling as living organisms would. He demonstrates through interactive simulations how airflow can be directed, how natural light can be harvested, and how every architectural decision must respect and respond to the local climate and culture. The chapter winds down with the participants of the event stepping out into the fresh air of a rooftop garden, a panoramic view of the gleaming city below them. Here, amidst the lush greenery and the subtle glow of bioluminescent pathways, a palpable sense of promise and responsibility is shared among the crowd. The night reflects a symbolic passing of the torch to the next generation of sustainable architects and urban dwellers who stand ready to reimagine the fabric of the city. In the quiet of this elevated garden, a resolve is formed to create not just buildings, but ecosystems for a sustainable and vibrant future. As the attendees make their way home, energized by the evening's revelations, the city hums quietly with the sounds of progress. The buildings themselves seem to join the nocturnal chorus, their green terraces alive with nocturnal wildlife, their walls breathing with climbing ivy, and their windows reflecting the gentle dance of both the stars and the bioluminescent streetlights below. This harmony between nature and urban living is no longer a distant dream, but a growing reality reflected in each corner of the city. The resolve is firm and palpable, a conviction to transform the steel and concrete jungle into a coexisting habitat for both humans and nature. This is the heart of the symposium at Verdant Tower, where Ken Yang, through his holographic avatar, continues to captivate the room with his visionary ideas. Each skyscraper can be a vertical ecosystem, he says, his voice echoing in the grand hall. In a bioclimatic building, every element exists in thoughtful symbiosis, the passive design harnessing the sun, wind, and rain to provide natural heating, cooling, and irrigation. The audience hangs on to every word as Yang articulates his philosophy of integrative ecological design, where buildings work with the environment, not against it. The symposium breaks into workshops, with practitioners brainstorming methods to retrofit old buildings with green technology, embed sustainability deeply in city planning, and ultimately change the urban landscape, imagining it through the lens of living organisms. These task forces are the seeds of change, sowing ideas that will soon bloom into tangible projects across the city. As the workshops draw to a close, an architect from Scandinavia presents a case study of a community that transformed an abandoned factory into a thriving eco-hub, its design inspired by Yang's principles. On the walls, images of the transformation play, showing a once gray structure teeming with vegetation, harnessing rainwater, and supporting local wildlife. The case study demonstrates the potential to revive urban spaces, big and small, into catalysts for sustainability. The chapter winds down with a reflective mood. The impact of green building is no longer a hypothesis, but a testament visible in the city's skyline. Every attendee departs with a commitment to act, to push this wave of change forward, and turn individual ambition into collective action. As the night deepens, the lights of the city dim in respect of energy conservation efforts, a reminder of the path towards sustainable enlightenment urban dwellers have chosen to embark on. And with that, Chapter 7 concludes, the narrative of green architecture and sustainable living carefully woven into the fabric of urban existence, setting the stage for the next advancement in urban transformation, the greening of urban edibles in Chapter 8. As dawn breaks over the city, the golden rays of the sun cast their light upon the myriad of green spaces that have begun to redefine the urban landscape. The focus is no longer solely on parks and recreational areas. Instead, the spotlight now shines on an intricate network of green rooftops, community gardens, and urban farms, thriving facets of a city reborn with sustainability at its heart. The concept of urban agriculture is hardly novel, but its renaissance comes at a time when food security and environmental conservation are in the spotlight. At the heart of this movement are community gardens, sprouting up in vacant lots and abandoned spaces, breathing life and biodiversity back into once neglected areas. These small patches of greenery have become more than just spaces to nurture plants. They are critical hubs for community engagement and education. One such success story is the Haven Green Community Garden. Situated in a bustling neighborhood, it has transformed from a lifeless plot into a vibrant oasis of organic produce, fragrant herbs, and native flowering plants. Every Saturday morning, the garden hosts workshops on sustainable agriculture, inviting residents to roll up their sleeves and dig into the soil. Here, community members learn the importance of composting, the intricacies of crop rotation, and the satisfaction of harvesting one's own food. But Haven Green is not merely a locus for growing food. It symbolizes a seed of change that the community has collectively nurtured. The narrative of urban living evolves as cooperative ventures, like food co-ops, become instrumental in creating a new city rhythm. The co-ops act as nodes connecting local producers with urban consumers, ensuring fresher produce on dinner tables and encouraging a lower carbon footprint associated with food transport. They are spaces where conscious consumers gather, exchange ideas on sustainable living, and reinforce their commitment to supporting local agriculture. Collaborative projects, such as urban beekeeping initiatives and collective rainwater harvesting systems, exemplify how synergistic efforts can lead to a resilient urban ecosystem. On rooftops across the city, hives buzz with activity, while rain gardens and barrels collect precious rainfall for irrigation purposes. These initiatives, while small in isolation, collectively offer substantial benefits, promoting biodiversity, enhancing food security, and fostering community spirit. Amidst the burgeoning greenery and thriving marketplaces, the city's commitment to sustainability is evident. It's a testament to human ingenuity and the strength that ensues when individuals join forces for a common cause. The green rooftops, once barren and utilitarian, now boast rows of leafy greens and flowering pollinators, turning the skyline into a patchwork of living, breathing habitats. As Chapter 8 progresses, it will delve deeper into the educational programs that these community projects offer, highlighting the direct impact they have in fostering an ethos of sustainability across all age groups. It's not just about the transformation of physical spaces, but the cultivation of a mindset that will carry this green revolution well into the future, one community at a time. The Haven Green Community Garden is not just about the harvest of fruits and vegetables. It serves as an outdoor classroom where sustainability is the core curriculum. Volunteers organize weekend workshops for local children on topics such as composting, plant biology, and the importance of bees in ecosystems. These events bring the spark of curiosity to young minds, tying lessons from textbooks to the tangible natural world around them. Maria, a local elementary school teacher, brings her students to the garden. With hands nestled in the soil, they learn about the interconnectedness of life. They sow seeds that, with care and attention, sprout into the food they later eat. It is a lesson in responsibility, biology, and environmental stewardship. Here, children see the cycle of life firsthand, from seed to harvest, explains Maria, and they take these lessons back home, advocating in their own families for sustainable practices. The garden has also become a meeting place for experts and novices to exchange knowledge. Monthly Green Talks welcome guest speakers to discuss topics ranging from renewable energy to waste reduction techniques. The knowledge percolates through the community, beginning ripple effects that change daily habits. Local restaurants start to source their ingredients from these green initiatives, supporting the local economy while reducing their carbon footprint. It was during one of these green talks that the idea of a cooperative, co-op store first sprouted. The co-op, built by the community for the community, becomes an avenue for local producers to sell their goods directly to urban consumers, bypassing the need for long-distance transportation and packaging waste associated with conventional supermarkets. Beyond groceries, the co-op provides a platform for artisans and crafters to offer sustainable and upcycled goods, turning the store into a hub of circular economy activity. The narrative in Chapter 8 proves that sustainability is not just an occasional act of planting a tree, but an ongoing narrative of change, learning, and cooperation. The creation of a self-sustaining urban tapestry weaves each individual's efforts into a broader communal success. At the heart of the community garden, where Maria's class planted their tender saplings, a fresh spirit of unity blossomed. Neighbors who once just exchanged passing nods now shared gardening tips and seeds. Saturday mornings in the garden became a figurative town square where like-minded souls sowed the seeds of both flora and friendship. It was in this atmosphere of mutual growth that a local environmentalist named Alex introduced the next phase for communal action. Alex, with a background in urban development and policy, saw the garden as the root from which larger initiatives could grow. Urban Oasis, a project aimed at transforming underutilized spaces into green havens, gained momentum as the community came together to support it. Armed with petitions, peaceful protests, and proposals detailing the benefits of Urban Oasis, the community caught the attention of the city council. The success of Urban Oasis marked a turning point. It led to a partnership between the community and urban planners. Public spaces began to embody the essence of sustainability, with more greenery, shared resources, and infrastructures such as rainwater harvesting systems and solar panels. The city witnessed a resurgence of life, not just in its gardens, but within the hearts of its inhabitants, energizing them to be proactive stewards of their home. In the wake of these changes, small businesses and local NGOs collaborated to form the Green Alliance, an incubator for sustainable startups and a lobbying force for green policies. Their outreach campaigns educated city dwellers on recycling, food waste composting, and energy conservation. These layers of collaborative effort demonstrated the power of community in creating ripples that extend beyond individual borders, influencing sustainable urban development on a citywide scale. A new chapter of urban existence was written, not by the pen of an individual, but by the collective hands of its people, each one an author of the city's greener future. The Green Alliance's most valiant undertaking was the replication of the Urban Oasis project in several neighborhoods, transforming vacant lots into verdant community gardens. These green patches became more than places to cultivate plants. They nurtured community ties and became havens for urban wildlife, reconnecting residents with the nature that had once flourished around them. Maria observed how the flora in these gardens burgeoned, encouraging a surge of biodiversity. Birds, bees, and butterflies, once scarce in the concrete jungle, found new homes in these gardens, creating miniature ecosystems. Their presence was an indicator of environmental health, and with each passing season, Maria documented the return of species thought to have abandoned the city's precincts long ago. The transformation was noticeable in the air people breathed. Pollution levels, fought with the dual weapons of greenery and clean energy policies pushed forward by the Alliance, began to waver. Communal efforts to increase the use of public transportation, the installment of electric bus fleets, and the addition of bike lanes collectively decreased the city's carbon emissions. Health clinics in the vicinity of the gardens reported fewer cases of asthma and respiratory issues among the local residents. This was attributed to improved air quality and also to the increased availability of fresh produce, contributing to better diets. Socially, the gardens became a glue that held the community together. Volunteers from various backgrounds worked side by side, their common interest in a healthier environment eclipsing any cultural or economic differences. Elderly folk found companionship and a sense of purpose. Children learned about the science of ecology firsthand, and busy professionals rediscovered a calming connection to the earth after hectic workdays. In these collective spaces, people bartered, exchanging seedlings, tips, and produce. This harkened back to the ethos of old, where the economy was driven by sharing and mutual benefit. Co-ops flourished, offering ethically sourced goods that further reduced the community's carbon footprint. Their popularity grew as citizens became more conscientious consumers, choosing local and sustainable products over those that came with heavy ecological baggage. The culmination of these community-driven endeavors not only manifested in the immediate benefits of health and environmental quality, but teased at larger implications for the city's development. Maria's class, once impassive observers, were now budding activists, understanding that their projects could sway city planning towards preservation and sustainability. Journals and studies proliferated on the topic, citing the city as a case study for urban renewal. Maria's own papers detailed the milestones reached in air quality and biodiversity, providing a concrete link to the community's grassroots actions. The Green Alliance's next goal was to leverage this data to advocate for continued support from city officials and private investors for future sustainable projects. The chapter was closing on another successful note, signaling a segue into a discussion about the long-term economic impacts, specifically the effect on real estate values and the landscape of urban development. It was clear that sustainability was reshaping the city in profound ways, and the next chapter promised to unfold these facets, revealing how the seeds of today's actions were poised to bloom into the urban spaces of tomorrow. Maria's class, once unacquainted with the intricacies of environmental issues, had evolved. This transformation was evident one sunny morning when a group of her students volunteered to teach local residents about composting and waste management. The Green Alliance had provided the necessary material and training, and the children were eager to share their knowledge, advocating for reduced waste footprints in their community. Community members gathered in the garden, attentive as the children, with newfound confidence, demonstrated the simple ways in which kitchen scraps could be turned into valuable compost. The site was more than educational, it was inspirational, serving as a reminder that every individual, regardless of age, could contribute to the sustainability movement. The event was a hit, leading to an increased demand for household composting bins, which the Alliance helped to distribute. The aftermath of the children's workshop was not just a practical step towards waste reduction, but a milestone that further enriched the social fabric of the community. Bonds were strengthened as neighbors discussed sustainability tactics over shared garden beds, realizing that the roots of change were as much about growing relationships as they were about growing plants. The sense of achievement was palpable at the Green Alliance's monthly meeting, where new milestones were shared. The community gardens had not only brought fresh produce to the urban tables, but also acted as a hub for sustainability education. Meanwhile, the cooperative purchasing of renewable energy had led to a visible dip in the community's carbon footprint, inspiring neighboring districts to seek guidance from the Alliance. As dusk settled on the city, the silhouettes of rooftop gardens and vertical green walls, another initiative from the Alliance, served as a testament to the community's commitment. Collaboratively, the residents had turned their buildings into a living, breathing portfolio of what urban sustainability could look like. The chapter was drawing towards its conclusion. Yet the story of sustainable urban living was far from over. Maria, reflecting on the journey so far, felt a sense of pride at the empowering role the Alliance and the collective efforts of the community had played. The soil of their urban gardens now stood as a fertile ground for economic growth and sustainable urban planning, promising a green revolution in the concrete jungle. As the city's lights flickered on, one could almost sense that a new chapter of urban life was just beginning. One rooted deeply in community effort and sustainable action. As twilight melded into dusk, the canopies of the rooftop gardens took on a warm, emerald glow, reflecting the lights of apartments flickering to life. Maria stood at the edge of one such garden, gazing down at the streets transformed by community efforts, a map of sustainability throbbing with the heartbeat of the city. Below, children played in the pockets of park space that had once been neglected lots, their laughter mingling with the soft hum of electric buses passing by. In the heart of this effervescent ecosystem was the community garden, no longer just a single plot of land, but a network of cultivated patches woven throughout the urban fabric. Residents, once strangers, now worked side by side, tending to plants and to the bonds of fellowship alike. Maria watched as a group gathered, pulling up carrots and beets, their faces glowing with the satisfaction of harvest. These gardens had become more than sources of fresh produce. They were the nurturing grounds for a new civic spirit. The air was abuzz with more than just the pollinators flitting from blossom to blossom. Ideas and excitement flowed freely. The Green Alliance, taking center stage at their weekly meeting, fostered this atmosphere. They were preparing for something big, a presentation to the entire city, illustrating the success of their initiatives. With meticulous documentation of their progress, reductions in waste, and an increase in biodiversity, they were ready to argue for policy changes that would scale these efforts across the urban landscape. But for now, it was time for reflection. The Alliance discussed how vital every compost bin and every green wall was, how each act of plant tending was a declaration of hope for the future. They shared their stories of children who learned to love vegetables by growing them, of seniors who found new purpose in sharing their green-thumbed wisdom, and of young professionals finding solace in the cultivation of their community plots after long hours in the glass towers. This web of greenery and growth was more than aesthetic. It was the tangible touchstone of their shared vision. Discussions turned to the spread of the Green Revolution, with Maria nodding along, her thoughts interlacing with her neighbors. And as the evening merged into night, and the stars above competed with the city's light, a collective realization dawned. Their vision was beginning to reach beyond the confines of their community, aiming to inspire an entire city to bloom sustainably. On the cusp of a pivotal moment, Maria and the Green Alliance's commitment to showcasing their green model was palpable. They meticulously pieced together the presentation, collating success stories, statistical improvements in air and soil quality, and testimonials from community members whose lives were directly touched by the greening projects. Maria compiled pictorial evidence of the neighborhood's transformation, before and after shots revealing the drab grays of urban decay blooming into vibrant community spaces. During these preparations, she realized how the garden had become the accidental classroom for the values they championed. Patience, nurturing, cooperation, all lessons taught by the very nature they nurtured. Maria smiled as she overheard two children debating the best way to compost, their voices earnest amidst the rasp of shovels turning soil. These auditory snapshots would form the heart of their citywide address. She imagined policymakers listening to the earnest, informed discourse of the youth, the future custodians of the metropolis. It wasn't just the act of urban farming, after all. It was the culture that sprouted from it. The bonds forged here, the exchanges of expertise, goods, and services through the co-op. These were testaments to a functioning, sustainable community model that extended beyond personal benefits to collective resilience. The day before the presentation, the whole garden was abuzz with anticipation and last-minute touches. The Compost Cooperative put forth their latest batch of nutrient-rich soil as a token of what the city could gain, while the beekeeping enthusiasts prepped jars of locally harvested honey, tiny gold-amber ambassadors of their cause. As the sun dipped behind the cityscape on the eve of their presentation, Maria gathered the Alliance. In the soft twilight among the ripe bounty of their labor, she delivered a heartfelt thank you, acknowledging each member's tireless efforts. Tomorrow, she declared, we present not just a project, but our way of life, a template for urban transformation. Let's show them how sustainability isn't a sacrifice, it's a symphony. The group's determination was mirrored in nodding heads and determined eyes. Their once faint dream was now on the brink of becoming the city's blueprint. Maria spent the remaining evening poring over reports, case studies, and raw data, ensuring every fact they intended to present was irrefutable, every statistic an indelible mark of progress. Across town, the Green Alliance members were doing their own preparations, honing the narratives of their experiences and the tangible benefits they had witnessed in their lives. One such member, Jamal, practiced his speech about the drop in neighborhood crime since the community garden's establishment. The garden became a nexus of positivity, where once there were only shadows, he rehearsed, feeling the gravity of his upcoming testimony to city officials. In the quiet of her home, Maria received a call from Councilwoman Rivera, an advocate for sustainable urban development. "I've gone over your proposal, Maria. It's impressive," Rivera encouraged. "Remember, you're not only speaking to the council, but to the hearts of the citizens. Paint them a picture they can believe in, and you'll sway even the staunchest skeptics." Maria's resolve solidified. Rivera's faith in her was just the reinforcement she needed. The morning dawned clear and bright as Maria and the Alliance gathered in front of City Hall, their materials neatly bundled, their spirits buoyant. They entered the forum, heads held high, greeted by a hum of anticipation. Lobbyists, community leaders, and interested residents filled the room, all eyes turning toward them. It was their moment to catalyze a sea change. Their presentation was a tapestry of personal narratives, meticulously collected data, and vivid imagery of green cityscapes. They showcased vertical gardens, scaling high rises, rainwater collection systems turning runoff into resources, and carpool incentives slashing emissions. The successes of their community garden multiplied to a metropolitan scale. As Jamal concluded his account of reclaimed safety and camaraderie around the garden, the room burst into applause, a community united by a vision of verdancy. As the session ended, Maria facilitated a workshop, engaging residents in discussions about possible policy implementations. The air was electric with ideas and the seeds of partnerships between the public and policymakers. They discussed tax incentives for green roofs, revisions of zoning laws to permit urban agriculture, and the establishment of an eco-fund to support local sustainability startups. It was no longer a question of if, but how soon these policies could take root. A palpable sense of momentum filled the room as the forum transitioned into its next phase, a panel featuring city officials. Maria watched with bated breath as the mayor, flanked by council members and urban planners, took the stage. Clearing his throat, the mayor addressed the eager crowd. Such ingenuity and passion for sustainability deserve not only our attention, but our action, began the mayor, eyeing the proposals with a mixture of admiration and pragmatism. The Greener Tomorrow initiative, spearheaded by the Green Alliance, aligns with our vision for a sustainable metropolis. However, we must acknowledge the challenges ahead in implementing these policies. The audience listened intently as the officials elaborated on bureaucratic hurdles, budget constraints, and the need for interdepartmental coordination. Yet an undercurrent of optimism buoyed their words. An outspoken councilwoman, notorious for her green advocacy, shared success stories of similar initiatives in other cities and outlined a roadmap for achieving these goals. Following the panel, a roundtable discussion ensued, with policymakers and activists eagerly exchanging insights. Maria and her colleagues from the Green Alliance, armed with notebooks and pens, jotted down every detail, every suggestion. They knew that this encounter was crucial for transforming their vision into actionable steps. In the spirit of collaboration, the mayor announced a series of town hall meetings to directly involve the community in the policy-shaping process. He also welcomed the Green Alliance to join a special advisory committee that would assist in navigating the policies through the city's legislative landscape. As the chapter neared its closing, Maria stood outside the forum venue, gazing at the city skyline under the setting sun. She reflected on the day's events, a smile dawning on her face. The battle for a sustainable urban future was far from won, but the city had taken a significant stride forward. The engagement of the residents and policymakers had planted hopeful seeds that with care and collaboration could grow into a lush canopy of change. The setting sun cast a golden hue over the gathering as the officials and activists mingled, their conversations a blend of policy jargon and hopeful aspirations. Councilwoman Ramirez, a staunch advocate for sustainable urban practices, had just finished outlining her roadmap when Mayor Jensen called for everyone's attention. "I know the task ahead is daunting," Mayor Jensen began, "but I see this room filled with the kind of energy and dedication that can move mountains. It's crucial that this isn't just talk. We need action. As such, I'm proposing we set up a series of task forces focused on specific areas of sustainability. Transportation, waste management, energy, and building standards are just the starting points." As the crowd nodded in agreement, an environmental policy expert from a neighboring city stepped forward. "It's important to remember," she chimed in, "that sustainability isn't a static goal but a dynamic process. Look at our city's car-sharing initiative. It reduced emissions significantly, and it started with forums just like this." The discussion that followed was vibrant and productive. Activists shared insights from grassroots campaigns, while policymakers considered how these could be integrated into city governance. An entrepreneur showcased a prototype of an app designed to help residents track their carbon footprint, garnering interest from several officials. Toward the end of the meeting, a small group formed around Maria, eager to hear about the Green Alliance's community garden project that had transformed derelict lots into green spaces. The project had been a beacon of success, demonstrating the tangible benefits of empowering communities. The secret, Maria shared, lies in inclusivity. It's not just about bringing in new ideas, but also about respecting the knowledge and traditions that already exist within our communities. Sustainability is as much about cultural resonance as it is about environmental responsibility. The forum adjourned with a palpable sense of accomplishment. The path forward was clearer, and the key players were aligned and ready to walk it together. Maria's optimism was contagious, inspiring others to envision the transformation just on the horizon. The next steps were daunting, yet the commitment in the room promised diligence and an unwavering focus on the goal of sustainable urban living. In the burgeoning light of post-forum enthusiasm, Task Force Green was the first to be assembled. Its members, a diverse group of technocrats, green activists, and local entrepreneurs, were united in a common mission to weave sustainability into the city's framework. Johanna, a civil engineer and activist, put forth her blueprint for a rainwater harvesting system in urban buildings, packaging it with a detailed plan for incentivizing landlords to adopt the technology. The task force deliberated on her proposal, weighing the environmental benefits against the practicalities of retrofitting existing structures. A couple of weeks into these efforts, Mayor Jensen called for the first in a series of town hall meetings designed to bring these discussions and the newly forming policies to the public domain. Transparency and engagement were at the top of the agenda. It was a platform for Maria and the Green Alliance to influence policy directly, presenting their grassroots initiatives to a wider audience. At the town hall, residents voiced their concerns and hopes. Some were skeptical, wary of the disruption to their daily lives and the potential for increased costs. Others offered their perspectives and experiences living in cities lauded for their green policies. The refrain, however, was unanimous, a demand for actionable steps and measurable progress. The advisory committee, anchored by seasoned environmental planner Dr. Lee, facilitated these discussions, ensuring that proposals such as Johanna's were not just theoretical constructs, but had footings in reality. The committee urged Task Force Green to prioritize projects based on feasibility, impact, and urgency. Parallel to this, Maria's community garden project blossomed into a pilot for urban agriculture, providing a tangible example of local-level sustainability. The Green Alliance worked hand in hand with local schools to integrate environmental education into curriculums, emphasizing practical skills such as composting and recycling. Following the town hall, excited chatter filled local cafes and online forums. The city buzzed with newfound energy, percolating through every street and apartment block. There was a growing belief that every resident could and needed to play a part in this green metamorphosis. The chapter of sustainable urban living was well underway, the city's collective story being drafted with each policy conceived, each garden planted, and, crucially, each voice heard. Dr. Lee's experience was invaluable as Task Force Green plotted the course forward. Her years in urban planning were evident in the steady control with which she steered committee discussions. Policy transformation is a deliberate art, she often reminded everyone, and we must act as both the artists and the audience. With Task Force Green's efforts gaining momentum, they began drawing attention from beyond the city limits. Emissaries from neighboring municipalities attended meetings, taking notes and asking pointed questions. They were looking to replicate the burgeoning movement in their own urban spaces, a testament to the influence of the city's forward-thinking stride. One particularly ambitious project that came under the spotlight was the Vertical Gardens Initiative, spearheaded by Amir, a local entrepreneur with a passion for modern agritech. His vision was a tapestry of living walls and rooftop gardens adorning the city skyline. It promised not only an aesthetic revolution, but also a boost in local air quality and biodiversity. The policymakers were captivated by Amir's enthusiasm, as he explained. Each building becomes a beacon of life, a literal green lung in the concrete landscape. Imagine, if you will, turning our city into a vertical forest. His project received resounding support and was fast-tracked for pilot implementation. As discussions unfolded, the importance of residents' voices was clearer than ever. Activists like Sophia Jensen, who had long battled for green spaces, finally saw her efforts mirrored in official agendas. It's about reclaiming our city, Sophia shared during an interview, shaping it into a place that nourishes us, and we it. The policies we advocate for today will dictate the air our children breathe tomorrow. The committee was keen to provide residents with the tools to influence policy. Workshops were organized to educate citizens on the intricacies of urban policymaking and to encourage them to submit their own proposals. Your ideas can seed change, encouraged Dr. Lee, as people from all walks of life gathered to partake in the civic process. The task force was instrumental in sparking dialogue between disparate groups, from career environmentalists to families simply wanting a safer, cleaner neighborhood for their children. It became evident that sustainability was not a fringe concept, but a central pillar upon which the community could build a robust future. On the back of the movement's successes, the City Council proposed an ambitious carbon neutrality plan, setting a challenging but attainable target for the city. This policy framework acted as the city's pledge towards a sustainable future and a call to action for other cities to follow suit. As they approached the conclusion of the chapter, enthusiasm continued to soar. The city was an ecosystem of its own, adapting and evolving. The final town hall meeting of the chapter drew record attendance. Signaling a community ready to leap into the sustainable future it was busy crafting. The die had been cast, and the canvas of urban life was set ablaze with change. The Vertical Gardens Initiative, once a mere seedling idea in the minds of Task Force Green, had taken root and sprouted into a myriad of projects adorning the city's high-rises with greenery. The lush tapestries of urban cultivation not only beautified the concrete landscape, but also improved air quality and provided communal spaces that fostered neighborhood camaraderie. Policymakers, traditionally viewed as sluggish and out of touch, were now regularly convening with activists and green thinkers like Sophia. The fusion of ideas culminated in pragmatic policies that tactfully nudged city dwellers towards sustainable practices. The collaborative workshops, an initiative of the City Council, turned out to be an incubator for innovation. Residents from all walks of life were now empowered to voice their eco-concerns and propose actionable solutions. Amir, a beacon for urban transformation, spearheaded several technical workshops, demystifying solar panel installation, making it accessible and engaging. In one workshop, an elderly couple shared their testimony of transitioning to a more sustainable household. They managed to retrofit their home with the help of local grants and subsidies, and they humorously recounted their initial struggles with composting, which ultimately led to a blossoming garden. Stories like these resonated deeply, infusing the meetings with a sense of communal achievement and possibility. The policymakers, duly noting this emerging pattern of active citizenship, began forming special task groups focused on addressing the feedback from these workshops. This feedback loop became the heartbeat of the sustainable movement, ensuring that the policies remained relevant and responsive to the populace's needs. As the chapter neared its close, the air was abuzz with the spirit of active engagement. Task Force Green and the City Council, once parallel forces, were now converging paths. The city was not just leaping, it was transforming with the collective stride of its denizens. And as residents prepared to close this chapter of their journey, they glimpsed the burgeoning of a greener horizon. Knowing well that their work was far from done, in the penultimate moments of Chapter 9, the seedlings of change had firmly rooted themselves in the urban landscape. Policymakers and activists alike gathered in the city's eco-center, reflecting on the progress triggered by their relentless pursuits and the endless deliberations aiming for a sustainable utopia. Urban policy had become a vibrant canvas, freshly painted with the hues of green initiatives and eco-conscious mandates. One of the most influential voices in the room belonged to Clara Mendez, a local activist whose grassroots organization had swelled from a handful of environmental enthusiasts to a substantial movement shaping the very policies they once petitioned for. Empowerment, she insisted, lies in the hands of the informed and the involved. The policies we advocate must be more than just words on paper. They must be lived experience. Her determination reverberated in the nodding heads that filled the space. The workshops had become a crucible for innovation, where regular inhabitants transformed into citizen planners, their ideas funneled into actionable policies. High-rise rooftops sprouted with community gardens, gray waters recycled with purpose to nourish them, and streets, once choked with fumes, now gave way to green corridors for pedestrians and cyclists. This was environmental democracy at its finest, policy shaped by the polis, the people themselves. As the final words of the chapter were gathered, the narrative of transformation was clear. Urban dwellers had become architects of their own futures, wielding the tools provided by their leaders, but more importantly, those forged from their collective will and vision. The story of urban sustainability was far from over, but Chapter 9 could conclude with a sense of uplifting progress and realistic optimism for the future. The page turned, setting the stage for the grand evaluation that awaited in the final chapter. Residents looked on with well-earned pride, but with the keen awareness that the journey ahead was laden with the challenges of maintaining momentum and facing new environmental conundrums. Yet they were ready, poised for the concluding chapter of their story, where lived experiences would articulate the true measure of their success, painting a vivid image of a city reborn. As the final chapter of our story unfolds, Chapter 10 begins by casting a gaze over the transformed cityscape. The once gray concrete jungle now thrives with verdant rooftop gardens and solar panels gild the skyline, a testament to the efforts of Task Force Green. The air feels tangibly cleaner as the initiatives to curb emissions have paid off. Electric vehicles glide silently through the streets, a stark contrast to the roaring engines of the past. Public spaces buzz with community activities, from urban farming to recycling workshops, mirroring a redefined urban lifestyle where sustainability is as routine as morning coffee. Moreover, the integration of smart technology has played a vital role. Smart grids bolster energy efficiency, while intelligent waste management systems predict collection needs, optimizing the process to unthinkable levels previously. Sensors dotted across the city guide citizens, providing real-time data on air quality and public transport occupancy, empowering them to make eco-friendly choices daily. However, Task Force Green is cognizant of the challenges that loom large. How will the city adapt to the influx of climate refugees? Can the urban infrastructure withstand the growing pressures of urbanization while remaining green? These are the questions that city planners, residents, and advocates are preparing to answer. The final pages of this chapter will solicit a vision for the ongoing journey towards urban sustainability. It will call for a unified front against emerging environmental foes and highlight the imperative role technology will play in this ceaseless vigil. The narrative will echo the city's heartbeat, thriving on the rhythms of innovation and resilience, beckoning readers to join the cadence of change. In the heart of the city, the Smart City Initiative, led by Task Force Green, is painting a revolution in hues of green and blue. The very essence of urban existence is transforming, transcending beyond what was once the norm. This chapter of our story unfolds as the sunrise greets a city no longer crippled by the smog that used to define its skyline. Sustainability no longer resides on the fringe of society's consciousness, but has been embedded into the very core of urban development. The implications of smart technology in sustainable cities are immense, promising a leap forward that was once unimaginable. Self-regulating, energy-efficient buildings dot the landscape, while intelligent transport systems whisk citizens seamlessly to their destinations, minimizing their carbon footprint. As we probe deeper into the narrative, we discover that innovations such as vertical farms etched into skyscrapers and biophilic designs are revolutionizing how we consider living spaces. Rooftop gardens are no longer an exception, but a standard, helping to regulate building temperatures, promote biodiversity, and provide fresh produce to urbanites. The engagement of the community is palpable. Neighborhoods once disconnected by the digital divide are now thriving with co-created solutions, buoyed by the proliferation of the Internet of Things. Digital forums hum with the collective brainstorming of citizens who discuss ways to retrofit their blocks with rainwater harvesting systems or to initiate energy-sharing programs. The city is not just evolving, it's morphing into a living laboratory, where each corner serves as a testament to the ingenuity of humankind and the resilience of the natural world. But this narrative is not without its challenges. As technology rapidly advances, the city must navigate the thin line between innovation and the preservation of its character, ensuring that technology serves as a complement rather than an override to human experience. Reflecting upon the social implications of such advancements, we see a shifting paradigm in urban development. It is no more just about technologically forward infrastructures, but also about creating an inclusive society where sustainable benefits are accessible to all. To address economic disparities, cities have started deploying affordable, renewable technology in marginalized communities, effectively democratizing access to sustainable resources. Programs to subsidize green renovations for low-income housing are rolled out to provide equal footing in this ecological transition. Moreover, the thrust toward a socially equitable urban ecosystem doesn't stop with energy and infrastructure. Initiatives to involve all community members in the planning and implementation of local green projects are set in motion. City planners dedicate resources to educate and empower residents, enabling them to make informed decisions about their energy use and to champion sustainability at a grassroots level. This extensive public engagement is cultivating a generation of residents who are as much participants in the city's evolution as they are beneficiaries. The vision of a socially equitable future lays the groundwork for a city where technology isn't a luxury but a tool for empowerment. As smart urban farms bloom in vacant lots, providing fresh produce to urban food deserts, technology is leveraged to tackle social issues directly. The integration of tech-based transport networks ensures that the mobility needs of all citizens are met, helping to bridge not just physical, but also socioeconomic distances. However, with such rapid technological assimilation, cities face the new challenge of tech literacy. In response, educational initiatives and workshops become as much a part of the urban landscape as the community gardens and solar panels. The aim is to ensure that every individual, regardless of age or background, has the knowledge and ability to navigate and contribute to the smart, sustainable ecosystem of their city. As the chapter nears its conclusion, the reader is thus invited to reflect on their own role in this evolving urban narrative. Cities have made great strides in sustainability, but the story doesn't end here. The growth of a city is an ongoing dialogue between its architecture, its technology, and its people. By taking an active part in this conversation, each person has the power to shape their urban environment, making it a greener, more inclusive space for all who dwell within it. In harnessing the power of technology for sustainability, smart city initiatives have transformed the urban canvas into a living laboratory where every street corner can offer a lesson in eco-efficiency. In Taipei, intelligent traffic systems mitigate congestion, reducing emissions and saving energy. In Barcelona, sensor-equipped bins monitor waste levels, paving the way for optimized collection routes and frequency, lessening both carbon footprints and operational costs. While these technological advancements are integral to the future of urban sustainability, they are not solely the responsibility of city planners and engineers. Equally critical is the participation of the city's inhabitants, whose daily life choices greatly influence the effectiveness of such initiatives. This is where the concept of a smart citizen comes into play. A smart citizen understands the symbiotic relationship between their actions and the city's health, choosing to bike or use public transport instead of driving, or to support local green markets over distant supermarkets. This conscious choice-making is the fuel that powers the smart city engine. To facilitate this, city authorities are working in tandem with private organizations to offer workshops and online courses focused on educating the public about sustainability practices. A prime example is Amsterdam's Wijkwijzer platform, which brings together information, resources, and tools to help residents in neighborhood development, empowering them to take an active part in creating a sustainable city life. Besides education, innovation in creating more inclusive and sustainable communities is blossoming at grassroots levels. In Detroit, community organizations are turning abandoned lots into revitalized urban gardens, blending technology with traditional farming. They use solar-powered water pumps and smartphone apps that remind residents to water and tend their garden spaces. These small, tech-empowered shifts are cultivating a larger cultural change, one that roots community members in the value of sustainability and self-sufficiency. Now, as this chapter and our story begins its approach toward conclusion, it is time to fortify this bridge between knowledge and action. The journey to urban sustainability is communal and continuous. The tools and knowledge imparted throughout this story are meant to equip you, the reader, to become a proactive participant in this urban transformation. Conscious urban living starts with small, practical steps. Using energy-efficient appliances, minimizing waste, participating in local environmental initiatives, or even voting for policies and politicians who prioritize sustainability, each action catalyzes change. Every effort to live more sustainably within the city bounds reverberates, influencing cityscape and lifestyle alike. The true power of individual actions becomes self-evident as we explore the collective impact of urban residents embracing sustainable living. Imagine a neighborhood where rooftop gardens are the norm. Communities collectively invest in renewable energy sources, and shared transportation modes undercut the carbon footprint of commuting. These are not dreams of a distant future, but achievable realities when we join forces as stewards of our cities. As a tangible extension of this vision, local smartphone apps now enable citizens to track their personal energy usage, offer rewards for reduced carbon footprints, and locate recycling and composting centers. Meanwhile, urban planners use big data to optimize public transportation routes, reducing both traffic congestion and emissions. Public spaces are reinvented with eco-friendly materials, and buildings become dynamic entities, with smart sensors regulating energy consumption. Amid these advancements, we cannot overlook the importance of education. Knowledge is a cornerstone of sustainability, and efforts are ongoing to integrate sustainability into school curricula, from elementary to university levels. Such education not only provides the technical know-how, but also fosters a culture of environmental responsibility that propels future generations toward greener choices. Looking to the horizon, partnerships between citizens, governments, and industry leaders are essential for the incubation of cutting-edge sustainable technologies. Pioneering startups, often led by enterprising individuals from within the community, are already making strides with innovations such as vertical farming and green facades. These not only beautify urban environments, but also improve air quality and biodiversity. In these final pages, allow me to extend a heartfelt invitation to you. Take the wisdom gleaned here and bring it to life in your community. Advocate for initiatives like tree planting campaigns, sustainable urban design projects, or community-based energy solutions like solar panels and microgrids. Voice your support for policies that encourage public investments into green infrastructure and research. This chapter and our story may be drawing to a close, but it simultaneously marks the beginning of your unique narrative as an agent of sustainable change. The city of the future is not a far-flung idea. It is emerging now through the actions we collectively choose every day. As we reach the end of our story, may it be just the starting point of your journey toward shaping a sustainable city, a legacy you can proudly pass down to generations that will walk the paths we pave today. In the heart of the city, amid the hustle and bustle of urban life, there thrives a powerful, quiet undercurrent of change. This undercurrent is composed of individuals like you, who make daily decisions to tread lighter on the earth. It is these decisions, aggregated over time, that can turn the tide towards a more sustainable future. As you contemplate your role within this transformation, recognize the small but significant actions you can implement straight away. Ditch the single-use plastic bottles for a reusable water carrier. Create a compost bin in your apartment to reduce food waste, or join a car-sharing scheme to decrease carbon emissions. These actions, though seemingly minor, send ripples through the fabric of urban sustainability. Committing to these choices is just the beginning. Let them be your entry point into a broader conversation, a conversation about the well-being of our cities and the collective health of our planet. Engage with local sustainability groups or online forums to keep abreast of the latest discussions and advancements in green technology. Elevating your impact entails not just participation, but leadership. Advocate for and organize community gardens that not only provide local produce, but also beautify the urban landscape. Take the initiative to collaborate with neighbors on energy-saving projects, like bulk purchasing of LED lighting or setting up a neighborhood solar panel program. Become a frontrunner in promoting sustainable practices within your workplace, encouraging your employer to implement green policies. The imminent future is one where smart cities harness the power of IoT, big data, and AI to optimize resource use and reduce waste. It's a future where electric public transport and autonomous vehicles are the norms, where buildings not only consume energy but generate it. This future depends not on some elusive tomorrow, but on the concrete steps we take today. The key themes interweaved through our tale, a tale of innovation, collaboration, and education, are within your grasp to weave into the fabric of your daily existence. Our story beckons you to not just be an observer, but an active protagonist in the narrative of urban sustainability. As we prepare to draw the curtain on this chapter, consider your own lifestyle and how the principles discussed can take root in the actions you perform, the words you speak, and the influence you wield. It is in these reflective moments that we garner the strength to commit wholeheartedly to a life that sustains not only us, but the city that cradles our dreams. Together, as a collective force, we move forward towards a vision of urban living that harmonizes with nature's rhythms, celebrates diversity in solutions, and embodies the wisdom of sustainability. Embrace your part in this symphony of concerted efforts, and let your voice join the chorus, calling for a resilient and verdant cityscape. As this chapter ends, another begins, a fresh page for you to inscribe your legacy upon, an unwavering commitment to the planet that is our shared home. In the waning paragraphs of this work, we turn to the philosophical underpinnings that energize our commitment to sustainability. Informed by the spirit of our ancestors who revered the earth, we rejuvenate their legacies in the modern orchestration of smart cities and green initiatives. The confluence of technology and sustainability presents itself not only as an alliance of convenience, but as a beacon of hope. Skyscrapers with vertical gardens, drones monitoring air quality, and intelligent public transportation systems all stand as testaments to our potential. The synapses of our cities can now mirror the neural networks of nature, creating a mesh of interconnectivity that supports life, both human and beyond. As stewards of urban landscapes, our creed must be to adopt, adapt, and advance. We adopt new habits that favor the communal air, the shared river, and the universal sun. We adapt our consumption so wasteful excesses are curbed and circular economies are bolstered. And we advance, equipped with the knowledge that every act of conservation ignites a spark for global transformation. Leading by example, one can champion urban agriculture initiatives in residential areas or foster community building through local sustainable marketplaces. These are not merely hobbies. They are the threads of a vital tapestry, an urban ecology that teems with participative energy. It's in this spirit that homeowners convert roofs into solar power hubs, and office buildings give rise to eco-friendly workspaces. Individuals become the architects of change, designing ways of living that reduce ecological footprints while painting our urban experiences green. This, our culminating chapter, does not seek to offer closure, for the journey to sustainability knows no end. It seeks instead to spark a beginning, a perpetual crescendo of actions and intents. Here we recapitulate our lessons. Embrace innovation, cherish community, foster resilience, and cultivate a reverence for all forms of life. Now, with the gravity of our shared purpose, let us affirm our role in this ongoing epic. Let us be the vanguards of an era where technology, nature, and human ingenuity converge to erect a monument to sustainability, one city block at a time. In your hands lies the quill to inscribe your contribution to this global manuscript of urban sustainability. Will you rise as an advocate? Will you lead as an example? As our narrative reaches its conclusion, let your story of commitment, unyielding and zealous, begin its first chapter. As you stand at the vanguard of urban sustainability, remember that your actions, however small they may appear, ripple across the expanse of your city. Individual efforts combine to form a sea of change, a tidal wave of transformation sweeping across concrete jungles, transforming them into green havens of innovation and eco-consciousness. Imagine neighborhoods pulsating with the energy of community gardens, solar panels adorning rooftops, the air fresh from the abundance of planted trees, and the citizens united in the pulse of a city reborn. Your role is pivotal. Advocate for policy changes, support local businesses that value eco-friendliness, and educate your neighbors on the merits of reducing, reusing, and recycling. You are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the catalyst for the wave. Within the intricate network of your urban dwelling lies the untapped potential for sustainable living. The future is brimming with possibilities, and your commitment can fuel the transition to smart cities, where technology serves the environment as a humble steward. Picture a metropolis where data-driven solutions optimize resource utilization, where clean transportation is the norm, and where digital innovation accelerates conservation efforts. Harness this moment. Let the inspiration from these pages propel you into action. Commit to attending city council meetings, volunteer for local environmental initiatives, and use social media to spread the message of sustainability. Each step you take paves the way for others to follow. As we draw the final lines of this chapter, we relinquish the notion that one person's efforts are too insignificant to matter. You possess the power to ignite a revolution of sustainability within the very streets you walk. So, let your voice be heard. Let your passion be seen. For your individual contribution is a fundamental piece of the grand mosaic of change. Together, we step into the future, a unified front against the challenges that face our urban landscapes. Let us rise and be recognized as the architects of a greener, cleaner tomorrow. The future is not only in our hands, it is of our making. Thus, the mantle awaits, and with this culmination of knowledge and encouragement, step forth as a beacon of sustainability. Your city and your world will be all the better for it. As we gaze upon the horizon of tomorrow, we see the shape of cities transformed by the spirit of sustainable living. The pulse of urban innovation beats to the rhythm of green technology and community drive. It's within the framework of smart cities that we find the marriage of efficiency and sustainability, where data-driven decision-making and interconnected systems create an eco-friendly urban tapestry that thrives on renewable energy, fosters green transportation, and champions waste reduction. The integration of technology into our green initiatives is not a distant dream, but an ongoing evolution. Already, pilot programs for vertical gardens climb the walls of urban buildings, drones monitor air quality, and apps connect consumers to local food sources. These are the seeds of change, taking root in the concrete jungles we call home. It is in these advancements that we find more than innovation. We see the reflections of our own potential to affect change. The digital era offers unprecedented opportunities to advocate for our environment through social media campaigns, crowdfunding for green projects, and global connectivity that turns local actions into worldwide movements. In the pages of this book, we have traversed the road of sustainable living within the urban context. Now, the journey beckons you forward to write your own story, to be the observer and the actor in the ongoing narrative of urban sustainability. Share your experiences, educate others about the resources you've discovered, and build alliances with those who share your vision of a sustainable city. Your efforts are the lifeblood of the green movement. It is through the collective action of individuals like you that the paradigm will shift. Let the final words of this chapter not be a conclusion, but a commencement. For it is here, armed with knowledge and fueled by commitment, that you stand ready to champion the cause of urban sustainability. Embrace the role of an advocate with the clarity that your personal responsibility is the crux where transformation begins. Look around you. The cityscape is your canvas, and every sustainable choice you make is a brushstroke on the evolving masterpiece of our shared environment. With a message of empowerment and hope, this chapter concludes. Yet the story of urban sustainability continues beyond these pages. The torch is now yours to carry. Let its light guide you as you blaze the trail for a sustainable future. Remember, every step you take in the direction of sustainability is a step towards a legacy that will ripple through generations. Stand tall, for you are the harbinger of change. And through your actions, the dawn of a greener urban life is not just possible, it is inevitable. As we venture towards the horizon where technology blends with the rhythm of eco-conscious living, we must not forget the interconnectedness of our actions and the environment. Smart cities are burgeoning, pulsating with potential to harness data for the benefit of all inhabitants, creating efficient, livable urban landscapes. But the soul of a smart city is not in its infrastructure alone. It is also in the community, where each individual's contribution to sustainability fuels the transformative machine. In the heart of these technological wonders, urban farms ascend skyward, vertical gardens adorn cityscapes, and renewable energy sources power our digital lifelines. The integration of technology into green initiatives is but a facet of the magnificent gem that is sustainable living. It is a testament to human ingenuity and our undying spirit to coexist with nature rather than dominate it. Let this book be not the end, but the genesis of your advocacy. Use your newfound knowledge to spur dialogues in local government, to nudge your employers towards greener practices, and to imbue your peers with the same enthusiasm for sustainable living that now beats within you. It is this verve that will spark innovation and foster communities where the well-being of the planet is a priority. The torch of urban sustainability is now in your hands. May your light be a beacon for others, igniting a chain reaction of stewardship and reverence for our shared home. It is your personal responsibility, your mission, to carry this message of hope, to actualize the blueprints of sustainable models in every nook of our cities. From the budding seeds of awareness, let trees of action grow, sturdier with each passing day, until the forests of our collective efforts stand tall against the skyline, a symbol of what we can achieve. The dawn of a greener urban life shines upon us. Embrace the day, for it is yours to shape. Remember, you are the harbinger of change. Green Living High Rises, Sustainability in the Concrete Jungle was written by Cincinius. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a review or check out my other work. Thank you.